We have one board member that's calling in today, so I'm giving him the yell.
Hello, this is Jay.
Okay, we're going to start the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, it's 10:03 on April the 12th. This is the monthly meeting of the Cedar Mountain Protection Fire District Board of Trustees. Present are all of the board members with the exception of Jay Wilhelm, who's on the telephone. And we also have one board position opening. Some upfront housekeeping. For those of you that are not familiar with the building, behind you, where Don Van Dyne is standing, there's a restroom there. And to your right, if you go through the portal, there's a men's room and a ladies' room on the right and left. If you have cell phones, pagers, anything that makes a noise, if you can put it in the vibrator off position, it interferes with the recording of the meeting. If for some reason we have to evacuate the building, you can exit to your left with the main entrance, the door most of you came in, or you can exit through the door behind me. What I'd like you to do is go across the parking lot to the other side of the pavement and wait there. I'll grab the roster, and the chief and the many volunteers that are here will sweep the building and make sure everybody's outside, and I'll take attendance and make sure everybody's safe. If I happen not to be there, somebody call 911. Just kidding. Okay, first up on the agenda is the chairman's comments. I've got a few, I got my famous yellow book here. First off, I'd like to thank the Dillons. Last meeting, they brought a cake, and we had that 10 or 15 minute break, however long it was. And I know your wife's not here this morning. I don't see, oh, she's right in front. Thank you. No, I'm sorry, Karen Garrison. Thank your wife for bringing the cake, and thank you, Rich, for bringing the cake. Also, Rich Dillon gets to be up front again. If you haven't seen it, he volunteered his time along with Don Van Dyne and Chuck. If you go out in the bays, and you're welcome to do that, if we have a break in the meeting or at the close of the meeting, there are now lockers that are built for all of the turnout here for the firefighters. Very professional looking. It looks like a real fire station. So thank you, Rich, for taking the time to do that. We really appreciate it. One of the most important things is we as a community a lot of times take volunteers for granted. And as our volunteers are coming back, recently they were out on a fire. They were the first responders, first on scene, for a fire over in Mammoth Creek that I'm told burnt about 40 acres. And they were the first ones to respond.
I'm sorry, 3.5.
3.5 acres? Somebody told me it was 40 acres. But in any event, thank you. In any event, people, we take them for granted sometimes, and they're not only risking injury or their lives for different things such as fires, but even when they respond to an accident on the road, which they've just done recently, it was on a corner on 14, and you know how traffic drives on, people drive on Route 14, there's always a chance to be hit by a car or something. So they risk themselves injury-wise and possibly even death to do things to help us in the community. And the three gentlemen in the back, Don Van Dyne and John, I don't want to butcher your last name, Krieger, and Rich Dillon, were on that fire over in Mammoth Creek. So I want to thank you guys for going out there, along with the chief, of course. The last thing is I'm sure it's going around the village by now. One of our board members, Pat Cole, resigned last Saturday, April 5th. So we do have a position opening on the board. If you're interested, if you know someone that would like to apply is a bad word, but send us a little note that you're interested. There is no requirement of resume or anything. And we'll discuss it as a board. Thanks. Okay, first up, real quick, treasurer's report.
Approval of minutes first.
I'm sorry, approval of minutes. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Anybody got any comments about the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
There's a motion on the table to approve the minutes as written, and it's been seconded by Jim, our vote. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Minutes are approved. Now we have the treasurer's report.
In our capital improvements, we have $195,357.68. District Reserve Fund, we have $14,246.87. The Fire Fund checking, we have $7,065.15. And the Fire Fund savings, we have $489,58. And fundraising, we have $18,306.72. Snow removal funds, we have $125,403.56, and snow removal, that's snow emergency fund. And then snow removal fund, we have $245,442.54, and we only have one of the checks that were paid out that is clear. So we've still got two more that will come through, so that amount will drop. Any questions?
If there's no question, is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented?
Also move.
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Chuck.
We show, the capital improvement fund shows 195,000. Was there a transfer made into that this year?
Yes, a few months ago.
There was. Okay.
Yeah, and that, yeah.
Thank you. I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table by Frank to accept the treasurer's report as presented. It has been seconded by Chuck. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Treasurer's report is accepted. District Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fairly normal expenditures for this month. A couple of items that are not routine. AED batteries. They're 2 years old, a little over 2 years old. They're starting to go bad already. Actually, I think one has already gone bad. So there was a purchase of some more to replace those batteries as they go bad. So this summer, Chief's going to be replacing those. I think we've got them already. You're right. Okay. Also, $1,000 as a deposit for emergency medical responder. Used to be called first responder class in June. Last month, the board approved almost $3,600, right around $3,600 to send. I think it was 7 firefighters to that class. We paid the deposit on that. We still owe $2,600 by the 1st of June. I'll be paying that in May. Other than that, fairly routine expenditures. And when you look at the percentage of expenditures to budget, we're pretty much on track. Some of the areas are a little low. Capital improvements, we've expended 0 so far, but you know, Chuck's working on what needs to be done to repair the roof and things like that. So those numbers will come up, but other than that, we're pretty much in the ballpark to date. There's detail sheets towards the back if you're interested in the details, but that's kind of an overview. We advertised for secretary positions. We got 3 applicants. I've interviewed all 3 of them. And did you get a chance to phone interview 2 of them? Okay, and Mike interviewed just 1? Okay. So there were only 3 applicants, and when it gets to the right time to talk about it, I'll give you my recommendations on that. We have an American Express card through Costco that has all of the names on that account are folks that are no longer associated with the department. Pat Colai is actually the primary for the account. American Express and Costco will not let me do anything on it. Pat's the only one who can. So my recommendation to her was close the account because like I said, she's the only one that can do anything on that account. Now, if we want to open another American Express account for the department, American Express is requiring a personal guarantee. They would not bend on that. So my suggestion is let's not bother. The only thing we use that for is Costco. And I mean, we can reimburse whoever does the shopping at Costco instead of having our own card, because unless somebody wants to be the personal guarantor for that account, I chose not to.
Just kidding.
Well, we've got another card that we could send down. Don't we?
I think Costco only takes American Express, don't they?
Costco only takes American Express. Yeah. But I've got an American Express and I've got a Costco, so I can do the shopping and just be reimbursed. That's, you know, unless the only way we can get a new American Express card is for somebody to step up and be the guarantor for that. So, because we're...
Do you volunteers?
Can you use the card for other stuff? Personal? Not pay it back?
It'd be Pat would be in charge of
While we're talking about credit cards, we have a charge on the Visa card that is for $51 and change at Big Rock Candy Mountain on March 22nd that the chief, who's the only person who has a card out that I'm aware of, did not make, and I have no receipts on it. Did anybody make a charge on that? Big Rock Candy Mountain up in Marysville. So if nobody made that charge, it's probably a bogus charge, so I'll call Visa back and probably they're going to cancel the card and issue us a new one.
How many Visa cards do we have?
4.
Are they all in the office?
I've got 3 of them and Chief's got 1. So I don't know how it happened. It could be a mistake. It could be whatever. I just wanted to verify nobody here had made that charge.
If of the 3 that's in the office, when anyone takes one, does it have to be checked out to them and then checked back in on return?
The answer is yes, but not on paper. I just am keeping track of it.
think we should keep a log.
That's fine, I can start that.
Then if this happens again, we can kind of justify the dates of when the charge was made and who had cards charged out.
The only card out on this date was with the chief, and he wasn't up in Marysville and didn't make the charge. So,
Okay, but as
but to log them out is a good idea. I'll start logging them.
general
Yeah.
policy.
I went to Utah Retirement System training on April 8th last week, and got a lot of good information on that. When we hired the chief, he was not back on the 1st of December. He was not put into the Utah Retirement System. That caused us to be dropped out of the system, so we've been working for the past few months to get back into the system. We've completed the paperwork necessary to do that, but I need to talk to their IT guy because our accountant can't get into the website to find out exactly how much we owe, so that we can make the back payments that we have for the last from December through now. So there will be a higher than normal cost because we haven't been making the payments so far. We'll get it resolved though. We talked last month about getting a new printer, copier, scanner, fax, and we've got that. It's in place in the front office. It works. The only thing I haven't done on it is print checks. Both the accountant and I have been too busy to do that with April 15th coming up. So we printed checks this month on the old copier, but as soon as I'm confident that the new copier will handle the checks, that's the only outstanding thing that we need it to do correctly. As soon as that happens, I'll call our lease guy for the old copier and we'll have him come pick it up. Our lease expires in, the date's kind of muddled, somewhere 20 May to early June. I see different dates on that, so we'll have him pick it up at that time. In the meantime, we're using it for all the color stuff and as much as we can so that we use up as much of the toner and stuff like that that we have. That's all I've got.
I would really like to thank Frank. He has put in so many hours organizing, getting everything up to date, getting the computer up to date. He has worked really hard, and I would like to thank you so much for all that you've done.
I've only been working half days.
By the way, the new printer is color also, it's black and white. I gotta talk about it later. Okay, good report, Frank, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody, a motion to accept the district clerk's report as presented?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion on the table to accept. Is there any? And it's been seconded by Jim. Is there any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Jay, you still with us? Jay?
I am still here.
Okay. So you're still awake. So
Wake
I'm not
up,
hearing.
Jay.
Okay, we're gonna move into the old business, and we are gonna move a couple of things around.
Is that on, Scott, next on the
Chief's
agenda?
report.
Oh, chief's report. Sorry, I can't read today.
All right.
We got your back.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, since we've been responding with Alton's EMTs, we responded to 2 EMS calls. One was an overdose and one was a rollover on the highway. Actually, we had 2 rollovers that day, but the second rollover wasn't reported to 911. It was, they called the sheriff's office with a non-emergency call after they hiked in to a telephone. So I went out to check it out, but everything was fine, so we weren't actually dispatched to it. Training, we've been doing a lot of training. We got 47.5 hours of in-house training. And the in-house training, that is both structure firefighting, wildland firefighting. There's, we do topics like firefighter survival, search and rescue practices. We're kind of gearing up for a youth for sanctioned live fire training exercise, which we did. 7 members participated in this. We went to Cedar City, Station 3, and we did the live fire training exercise. It was also part of our test for Firefighter 1. 5 of us successfully passed the test. 2 of them have to retake the test. They got disqualified on technicalities. Training went real good that day. We've also had 21 hours of wildland training for different topics like advanced wildland firefighter and urban interface. In fact, right now we're doing the hands-on portion for the urban interface. It's going on right now, and as soon as I'm done with my report, I'll kind of step out to finish that. So working on getting everybody the pack tests. 4 of us so far have completed the pack test. What I've done is, instead of doing one day for everybody there, I only have 2 vests. So what we're doing is, as people can, we'll come up and we'll set up a course and do the pack test. I'm still working on that. My goal is to have that done by the end of this month. Vehicle maintenance. Weekly rig checks have been performed every week. Everything's up and running. The MOU inspections were completed, along with our inventory inspections. So we are compliant for our MOU obligations, with the exception of Tender 72. I need to get some work done on it. It needs the brake pads for the emergency brake, and there's an air leak that's possibly in the master cylinder. Baird Automotive out of Orderville is doing the repairs. He came and he's got some part numbers. He's doing some research right now, and he hasn't gotten back with me for prices or anything, but it is in the works. And the plow vehicle that we have, the right-hand turn signals, front and rear, are out. The loader's got a possible leak from the drain plug. We're looking at that. I'll probably have Baird Automotive look at that one as well once he's done with the Tender 72. And engine 71, engine 72, just minor stuff. I got to clean up the battery terminals. Other than that, the inspections we're good to go. And we actually didn't get marked off for those. He just let me. I have a list, and I'm going to take care of all this stuff. So as far as paperwork is concerned, our MOU inspections and our inventories are done. Rescue 70, though. I wanted to thank Jerry, because he finished up the project. He put about in excess of 40 hours on the project. But right now we can connect our winch with the receiver on the back and the receiver on the front. We can connect. We have power supports. It's a professional job. It looks good, and it allows us to put that winch into service effectively and in a timely manner. So we can use that for whatever we need for rescue services. But I just want to make sure I publicly acknowledge Jerry's involvement in that.
Sure. Thank you.
We had a little problem with the transmission linkage. It turned out to be just a little clip on the bottom. I took the vehicle to Canab, and they repaired it for a minimal charge. It was like $29, half an hour's labor. So it's up and running now, good to go. But while I was there, I had him look at a couple of nicks on the tires, and he brought it to my attention that the tires are over 8 years old. And tire manufacturers recommend the tires be replaced at 6 years. So the tires look good, the tread's fine on them because the vehicle hasn't been used a lot. There's only like 4,000 miles on the vehicle. But I think we should get, since it's an emergency vehicle, the tires replaced with fresh tires. And then we ought to look at all our other vehicles and keep that in mind, that every 6 years we need to have some safe tread. The problem is with blowouts on the road. Okay, we already talked about the turnout storage lockers. I had mentioned that, but you would already take care of that, so I won't go on. The EMR vehicle for a quick response. Okay, now here we have an issue coming up that we have to discuss. We have 12 members that are registered for the EMR class, and my initial proposal, the bid was just 7 members. So it's going to be an extra $1,500 for the extra 5 members. So I would propose that we go ahead and cover this because we're just with the 7 members. I was hoping that we could get 7 members. Well, I'm glad we exceeded that. I think we need to get everybody trained and certified so we can make responses, because we don't want to burn people out. With this amount of people, we should be able to get a rotation together so people could be locked into different times, and that way we don't wear people out. So I'm petitioning the board. We can discuss it, come up with a decision later, but it's $1,500 is going to be increased to that price. A total of $4,850 will be for EMR training. We started doing the department physicals. 3 of us have already taken our physicals, and then we have, I believe, 4 more scheduled, or going to schedule for next week. So that's going smooth. Part of those physicals includes a TB skin test that we have to have for the EMR training. So let's see here. Pagers. We ordered 10 new pagers. There was a problem with the paperwork, but it's been rectified now, so we haven't received the pagers, but we are getting them in. It's worth 6 pagers, 10 of them. Any day now they could be in. Grant application. I submitted a grant application to the state of Utah for their Firefighters Assistance Grant for 2014. And the grant is for $15,000 in PPE. So I requested 7 complete sets of turnouts, complete sets from the helmet down to the boots. And then I went ahead and put in for 4 pair of wildland boots because I wanted to combine the grant for both structure and wildland. It seemed to me that when I was reading through the grant, they have an emphasis on wildland stuff. So I put in for wildland, but we're needing some turnouts for the structure side. We have several sets that are already expired. NFPA gives you 10 years on structure turnouts. And then we have several sets that are already expired, and we have several that are going to expire next year. So with this, 7 sets, if we get this grant, I'll know mid-May whether we get the money or not. I'll be able to order 7 sets, and my goal is to outfit the residents that live up here full-time first, and then we'll just kind of trickle down. So I'll be exchanging with our part-timers. I call part-timers anybody that's seasonal, that lives up on the mountain and on the weekend. And that completes my chief's report. I have some other information here on, Jade asked me about ISO requirements, and I got some information for that, but I can give that to him. Everybody has a copy of it in underneath your books. I can get into that later. Basically, just for everybody so we know, we are not necessarily ISO compliant, but we are not that far off. Fiscally, it could be, the numbers might seem large, but we're not that far off with our 3 rigs. I have a list of all 3 rigs, what is required for ISO and what we actually have. Engine 77 meets everything, with the exception of a foam nozzle. Engine 72, let me go to 71 first. Engine 71, we're going to need, we need another air pack and 4 other spare bottles. 72 needs 4 air packs. The air packs are expensive, they're $9,000 a piece. But this is just to meet the ISO requirements. I don't want to take up everybody's time. I have done the research and done the work, and I can get with you, Mike, and then I'll get with Jay, because he had the question, and I can explain it in greater detail. But suffice to say that we're not as far off as sometimes we had feared. We'll be okay.
Good.
So that completes my chief's report.
Good report. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Now he's awake.
I had a question before. I'd asked if you would identify where the money was coming from for the physicals, and I haven't had an answer on that.
It wasn't budgeted, but I was directed to do
We
this.
cannot exceed what an item that's not budgeted. We just can't do it.
I understand.
So I feel that you've gone too far on this, too fast. Until we can identify where those budget items are, And I know that it will probably be in the budget that we are anticipating,
Sure.
that will be introduced here later in the public hearing in May on. But until then, I just don't see where Frank can find the money for it.
I understand your concerns. I would just like to say that I was directed by the old board to organize this and to start this, so I was completing an assignment from the old board. And that was with our existing budget, where it wasn't specifically allocated for. So it was coming out of the reserve.
Well, I think we need to get these physicals done before we do the advanced training. There's no reason to spend money on somebody having training if they can't physically do the job. Plus, for your safety and for our safety. I mean, these guys need to be protected, and we've got to get those done. How can we do that?
As I recall, the guidance from last year's board was that any items that were not specifically funded in the budget were to be pulled out of reserves. The specific conversation in October, November meeting, I brought up that the 3-year plan that the old chief had come up with to purchase equipment to get us up to the ISO standard the chief just mentioned isn't in here. And the response was that comes out of reserves, that you can pull out of reserves what you want to, even though it's not specifically funded. So what Chuck's bringing up is very valid, and that's why I'm proposing a budget revision that gets into more detailed line items so that we have all those things identified. And we've thought through them, and we've got the money allocated where it needs to go. And we don't need to have discussions like this. You know, we've got the money on hand. Where do we take it from? Well, let's plan ahead and
I disagree with you, Frank. The board is responsible for budget control. The board adopts a budget. The board is responsible for making sure that we live within that budget. We can't just go off and do whatever we want to just because there happens to be money available. And the staff is just as responsible. We make the staff responsible to not exceed that budget, to work within it. And I don't think that no matter what anybody says, we should just, otherwise why are we doing a budget if we're just going to just ignore it and do what somebody wants to at the moment? The budget is for our own use. We are the ones that adopt it. We are responsible for maintaining that budget control.
we're on the same sheet of music here. That's why we're going through this revision.
But we haven't gone through it yet. What I'm saying is it has not been adopted. We're going through it. We worked on it last night, and you've done a good job on it. I'm amazed at how good you've done. However, until that is adopted, until the public hearing is held on it,
How to take that
there.
statement?
Yeah, it was.
That was a compliment. Commissioner Heaton wanted to say something.
Let me just, I don't know that I've ever gone through a budget cycle without having something come up that was not covered. And there's a procedure that is allowed under statute. And you go ahead and do what you have to do, and then you make sure that for transparency purposes, it is noted and done. And then as we close the budget year, we open the budget to take care of stuff that had to be done, that has to be taken care of. So if you have a fund, a reserve fund balance, it is completely legal, completely okay to go ahead and open the fund open the budget, and then transfer from fund balance to cover what you had to do. I agree, the chief has got some things that he needs to take care of here, and I think that they're more than legitimate. So the process allows for it. That's my, God bless you, Chuck. I wish our whole system was as honest as I think Chuck is. But it does allow for the contingency to open and take care of those things.
I agree with you. There is the method of doing it, but it should be done before. That should be notified and discussed.
You're exactly right. It should be. But once in a while, something comes up that we don't foresee, and that gives the board the ability to operate and take care of what has to be taken care of. Yeah, you're right. Everything that is foreseeable should absolutely be included in that budget. And maybe this was foreseeable and overlooked for some reason. I don't know.
This was foreseeable, and I had requested that this be identified before we went ahead with it.
It sounds like that the chief was acting under the direction of the previous board.
Yes.
And it just, when he got the direction, the volunteer force was not what it is now. I mean, we were down to 3, 4 when you first came, whatever it was, 5. And now we're up to 17, you said, or 18?
Actually, we have 25 on the roster.
Okay. And it is a health issue. It's also, it's a liability issue for us as a district, for all of us. I mean, if we got folks out there wearing SCBA and doing things that are not physically fit to do it, and something happens to them, we're liable. It's a mandatory, and I'm agreeing with you, by the way, because we talked about this at length last night, that should have been a budget item, the physical, and it wasn't. But it was voted on under the previous board, and he was following the directions from that. One more comment, if you want to beat this to a dead horse.
I just wanted to reiterate what you said. He was acting on, he did not overstep his bounds. Chief, thank you, Chief Tuttle.
And hopefully we're going to correct it,
Yes.
hopefully, so it doesn't happen in the future. Any other comments? Aside from the physical issue?
Prisoner, he's correct. I have the statute sitting here. You don't even need me. You got him sitting there. So.
Sorry.
Could you put that in the notes that Ed said?
I think this brings up another thing that we have to look at, and that is increasing the EMS monies.
Can we talk about that when
We'll
we
talk
get to the
about
budget?
it later.
Sure, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
but, okay.
Thank you for the report. And if I'm reading this right, we're moving into old business. And as we move to it, there are some folks here that haven't been here in the past. We are attempting to follow Robert's Rules of Order, where one board member gets to speak until he or she has presented her whole topic. And then the other board members can will be acknowledged by raising their hand or asking for the floor, or however we do it. And we are allowing, for the folks that haven't been here before, comments before we actually vote on the item. So if you have a comment, it's not a discussion, it's a comment that the board can take into consideration before we call for the vote. Just a reminder.
Mr. Chairman, may I be excused?
Yes, go back and do your thing there. Nice outfit, by the way.
Thanks.
Shouldn't our chief be here during our meeting?
Well, he's conducting training.
Wouldn't it have been better to schedule that training other than a board meeting?
It would have, but I believe that there's a couple of people that are out there coming up here Saturdays specifically to get training. They're seasonal.
There are 3 Saturdays a month that we don't hold a board meeting.
And there's only 4 Saturdays a month. Did you see that email where he asked if he could have Mondays off and not Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that, I think, at the last meeting, that he's working.
Well, I just believe that our staff should be here for the meetings.
Well,
so that they can receive direction from the board if there's any that should be done, given.
He was here for the
Perhaps we need to establish a policy and procedure for that, for future reference.
Pardon, Jay, would you repeat that?
Yes, perhaps if that's the way the board should go, we should decide on how we want that, and we should establish a policy and procedure on that for future reference. What's done is done, and we were all notified that this was going to happen. So if we want to change it for the future, we need to establish a policy to handle this occurrence.
I think that in the past, that's been the policy, that the that the staff should attend the meetings.
It may have been a policy, but most of the board members are, I won't say new, but don't have a long history with the board. Most of our staff is new, so any verbal policy or understanding or communication.
It was in the chief's job description that he would attend the board meetings, unless that has been changed.
Job description.
Does the board that's here present feel that the chief should be here today and cancel the training that's out there?
I do.
Can I make a statement? As being on the board before, it was understood there will be times that we have a board meeting if he has to be in St. George or somewhere else on training, or if training is very important. And it has been understood that if he needs to be in training, sometimes you just can't change things.
I agree.
I make the
Do you
wrong
agree?
one.
It's not a motion, but do you agree? Could you go back?
Yeah, I think this is an exception. This training wasn't scheduled by him, it was scheduled by Earl.
Well, isn't Earl
So-
doing the training then?
I don't know that
Who's-
he was conducting the
If
training.
Earl scheduled the training rather than the chief, isn't Earl the trainer?
Yes.
Then my question is, you aren't needed to be the trainer.
I'm the student.
I suggest to go back.
While you're on this topic, by the way, in June, it's the 4 weekends in June is the EMR training, of which the chief is a member of the class. So you might as well clear the air on that one too, both topics, because he won't be here for the June meeting either.
Neither will I.
What?
I'm in that same class.
Oh, okay. It sounds like the majority of the board members are saying they're back out to the training. And we can talk about this, I guess. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here we were. First up, old business is that we're going to move some of these items around, but we're going to have the pancake breakfast and the newsletter donations. One is Sharon and Cindy, and one is Jay and Cindy. So we'll do the pancake breakfast first. Report, I guess.
A report.
I guess that's what we're doing. Is that
Okay.
okay?
We need to determine what we're going to fundraise for, because we're in the early stages of trying to get participation, and that is one of the first things we are asked. So I have talked to the chief and some of the board members about possible, like, extrication equipment, fire or water and ice rescue. So we need to determine that. We want to approach Dave and Sue Full for donating food items, and that's one thing that they're gonna want, so we need to determine that.
And I'd like to see as people come up, assign something, either if there's equipment that we can get, whatever, showing people, this is what you're donating for.
Right.
So that they know exactly, they can have a picture of it, they can look at it.
Take your pick. You got 3 pages.
You got it.
The sheets that he mentioned earlier that we all have,
Okay.
equipment for engine 77, that's a requirement for the ISO deal. You're welcome to look at this. Probably need to talk with him and prioritize it, because I mentioned to him that.
Yeah.
I mean, he told me he was gonna have all these lists, but pick some of these things that prioritize what it is we need, because there's a bunch of stuff up there.
And we'll let, and then everybody will be aware that
Right,
it's not just going to be in the bank.
yeah,
That, and the money, has been a lot of complaints in the past that as soon as the money was brought in, it wasn't spent. Well, it was for purposes, and it was for training. But anyway, now everybody will know.
so like right now, there's 18,000.
18,000.
So that can be grouped into.
Definitely.
Mhm.
We do need to upgrade, we need to get some more canopies, some more tables. We definitely need more
And chairs.
tables
Yeah.
and chairs, because you've got too many people. I mean, we are serving a lot of people, and we need to provide so that they're not sitting and trying to stand up eating
Yeah.
and make it nice for them,
Mhm.
but it's necessary.
Yeah.
So the money will be spent very prudently.
And we need to inventory too, what all you have, and all you need, and,
We'll go out and do that.
so do you recommend just getting with the chief and deciding what to exactly fundraise for?
Yes, because the list that he has here do not have prices associated with them.
Yeah,
So you don't want to tell folks, what I'm hearing is,
right,
you know, you want to buy an engine, for example, it's $250,000,
yeah.
and have a pancake breakfast.
Mhm.
So he,
I know he's worked on some of the price, like extrification, he had a number on that, and fire rescue, the fire and ice rescue, he had a number on that, so I think the first item was in the $4,500 range, and the water and ice is like $2,500, it's really not that much. So.
And that's probably good to have.
It is.
I mean,
With
we
Navajo Lake,
water.
yeah, if we got a water call and you guys can't even go out and do a successful rescue, that would be,
so maybe we can get with him when you're
yeah,
available, because I know you've got some other issues going on, you
right.
told me about. And we'll get together and I'll talk with him too,
Okay, yeah, time is going by really
and
fast.
identify specific items.
Yeah, and we want to be ready before that May 25th, that Sunday social, that we're really going to kick it off that weekend to get the community rallied for July.
And get our people, we had so many of these volunteers that were so good at getting donations for the drawing.
Yeah.
That is so important.
It is, and we could start doing that right now.
Right now.
Even as we're out there doing the newsletter, we can just move into the newsletter, if that's okay.
Yeah, we can get a letter written up. You've got it probably on your computer.
Yeah, but we should update it for 2014.
Would you do that?
And maybe have what we're fundraising for.
Mhm.
Would be a good, yeah, we'll get with the chief and have the secretary write up a letter.
Right. And if there's a wonderful quilter,
Any questions or comments from the
I think that's a good plan.
newsletter donations? You still awake, Jay?
I'm still here.
You're up.
Hey there. First, I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. And I also want to thank Cindy Allen. She's done a tremendous job with the newsletter as far as fundraising, getting it kicked off. I know she spent a significant portion of her week outside of her business and her personal life in the interest of gaining donations for the newsletter. So I just want to say thank you very much, Cindy, for that.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I've got a motion to make later, Jay, but continue.
Excellent, thank you. I don't have anything to add other than that. Our advertisements are rolling in, our articles are rolling in, so things are on schedule for a May 15th mailing date, and hopefully we'll have those to the people before the Labor Day weekend. Excuse me, I just spoke. Hopefully we'll have those to the people before the 24th, 25th weekend in May. And that's it.
If I may, thank you, Jay. If I may, in the work we did last night on the budget that's going to be presented, the amended budget, under line item 98, public relations, there's $4,737. And under newsletter, there's $987. Under those two items, it's a total of $5,724. $1,000 of that should be used for community education. We've always bought things for about $1,000 worth of items for the pancake breakfast. And I'd like to see that continue out of that. That'd leave about $4,700. I would propose that we could subsidize while we want to do what we can out of the ads, that we subsidize the 1/2 of the cost of the newsletter up to a maximum of $4,500 from those two proposed items. And I would make that as a motion. Do you think that would help, Jay?
Chuck, that would help tremendously. I don't want to say it would take the pressure off, but it would allow the newsletter committee to make the financial commitments to the print and mail shops in order to keep the train on the track and moving forward. So yes, that would be a tremendous help, and we would continue to strive to not use as much of that as possible and gain as much as possible through advertising.
Well, in that motion, and that would be what I'd propose, to fund as much, but we could fund up to 50% of it, up to $4,500 out of those items. I assume you'll want to second that motion.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I would like to second that motion.
Is there any more discussion? Yes, sir.
Right now, the budget we're working under right now, 25.
Jay, Frank Aguilardi. Frank Aguilardi has the floor. Frank has the floor.
The budget as it stands right now allocates
I
$2,500.
cannot hear anybody speaking, guys.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. I can hear now.
Okay.
I interrupted. I couldn't hear anybody.
Okay, I can hear you too. Right now, the budget allocates $2,500 to fire prevention and public education. We've spent $58.35 of that through the end of March. We would need to modify the proposed budget to put that $4,500, if we so decide, into community education. Seems like the best place to do that, like you suggested. That's line 99. So just for the board's clarification, that's where we sit right now.
However, we would expect to have this budget proposed, the proposed budget, a public hearing on it the 9th, and action on it the 10th, at which time it would become available, right?
Well,
of May.
it's available now based on the board deciding to just reallocate the resources like Commissioner Heaton mentioned out of reserves. So it could go either way. But I think we could vote to approve this legally without any challenge. So I think we're okay on it.
If we think outside the box a little bit, there's venues with the FEMA website where you can go there, and there's a bunch of materials on fire safety, including but not limited to fire escape, planing, when you evacuate, where you meet, those kinds of things. And those are the kind of things that you need to have at the pancake breakfast. That's public education. There's a myriad of things on there, and I'll look at it, and they're free to the public. Also, there's a venue with the Red Cross. I don't know how much they have as far as fire goes, but there's a bunch of material that the Red Cross provides free of charge for these kinds of events where you're trying to raise money for volunteers, and there's a lot of safety issues. And we can call the Red Cross down in St. George. I think that's the office. I don't think Canab has a...
It's St. George.
It's St. George.
They've donated.
Well, we can do that too, and I'll call them, and I'll look on the website, and that may save us the $1,000 or whatever it is that the board...
Well, that was a lot of...
You could,
What we did with that was bought things like helmets for the kids,
Right.
and little coloring books and things. Sharon in 2012 got a number of the free things that were given out to supplement that. But historically, we put that about $1,000 into that.
So you volunteer. That's what you should do before.
To call them, yes, I will call them.
Okay. And I'll look on the FEMA website.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the table, I believe, for, can you restate the motion? I'm sorry. How much are we taking? Restate the motion?
Out of those proposed new budget, out of line item 98 and 105, we would take up to $4,500, match the amount received from the ads, up to $4,500.
I would request that the motion not say which line items to pull it from exactly, because that's not approved yet. I would request that the motion be stated where we will fund half up to 45%. We'll figure out where the money comes from.
I'll accept that. But Jay, would you accept that on your
Yes,
second?
I'll accept that on the motion change for the second as well.
So there's a motion to take $4,500 out of fire prevention / public education? No.
No, the motion,
Just to provide up to $4,500.
Okay, provided,
Match the donations up to $4,500.
and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. When they poll the board to show them how to do it.
Cheryl doesn't know how to, I'll pull the board if that's okay.
Nay.
Sharon?
Yes.
Aye.
Jay?
Yes.
Mike?
Are you not hearing me? Hello?
Yeah, we heard you. You got a yes. Yes.
Yes.
Chuck? Frank's aye. That has to be recorded. Who voted which way? The nay was Jim Harbaugh.
So the motion passes 5-1.
Mr. Chairman, I had talked to Jay earlier, a couple days, and he wanted the Conservancy District to come and talk, and he gave me a timeline of 10:45.
We have two other items that we have to do because Jim Barbeau is leaving before we get to you,
Okay, so what time are we looking at?
when the two items are done. I'm sorry, there's two other items that I have to do, because Jim has to be here for one of, for both of them, actually. He has to leave at 11:30, you said? It's already 11:05. I have to do these two items.
All right.
Next up on the agenda, we're going to move into the new business. We're going to talk about the public hearing and the amended budget. And quick synopsis is last night we had a work meeting. Frank worked tirelessly on breaking out the budget from the previous board back into a line item budget. And he gave an outstanding presentation last night. I didn't tell you that last night, I hope you heard me. That was a great presentation.
Say that louder for the tape, please.
No, I won't say that. I don't want that on record. As everyone may not be aware, when the certification letter from the 2013 board was sent to the county, the revenues that would be generated from that, from the letter that was sent to the county is less than the imposed expenses in the budget that we're now living under. In addition, there was a clerical error, and Elkridge Estates and Bryce Summit were not charged a fire fee for this budget. And that comes out to about $14,000, a little less than that. Frank and myself have both been talking with the county, and that will be corrected when the fees are collected at the end of 2014, and Elkridge and Bryce Summit will be paid double, basically. They'll just be added into what their tax bill is. And it was easier for them to do that than to send out another letter now, print a whole set of bills, and out of the goodness of their heart, that was a plug to the commissioners. The county doesn't charge us to do that. We're not being charged for them to collect our fees. With that in mind, we are living under the budget that was approved by the previous board in 2014. And again, the revenues that were collected, you paid $65, I believe, for fire and $110 for snow. Snow's not so much of an issue, fire could be. We just had this discussion in regards to physicals. It's not in that budget. So we're proposing an amended budget in an amended fee, which will appear on your tax bill that you receive at the end of this year. If we don't amend the budget, we're going to live with the same fee that we're living with now, the $65 a watt, which means we're going to have less revenue than expenses. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Frank, because he's been practicing this since last night. I'm going to give you a brief summary. I'm going to try to find what he's talking about on this thing, so you can see it.
You're all looking at me like be brief, so I will try to do that. And there are a lot of handouts over on the table. Hopefully you picked them up. You've heard some of the reasons why we're opening the budget up for reevaluation and some changes. The budget as it exists right now has 22 line items for expenses. You've already seen that that's just not, they aren't precise enough to give us the kind of guidance that we need on a day-to-day basis to operate the department and to utilize the resources. There's a 2-page notes that I hope you grabbed also. There's a 1-page that says fund balance limitation. The reason that that's in there is because the budget as it exists right now is not in compliance with Utah code as it relates to fund balance or reserves, use whatever term you want there. It's money that you hold on to and carry over from year to year. So what I did was go back to what this department used to use for budget, which comes out to 200 and some line items. It's a lot more detailed. Just an example is vehicle maintenance is one line item on this budget. It doesn't break it out per vehicle or what it's for, what's for maintenance, what's for repairs, what's for licensing and fees and things like that. It's just vehicle maintenance, one number, $15,000. On the proposal, I've broken it out per vehicle. The numbers on your sheet, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I would solicit your input. Talk to me about your thoughts on this, okay? Because we need to do something about it to make it easier on a day-to-day basis to be able to manage the funds. This makes it a lot more work for me and for the staff here, because now we have 200 different choices to make instead of 20 different choices to make. But it makes it much more transparent. It shows you and it shows the board where the money's actually going. The numbers, there's also on your budget revision draft, if you grabbed one of those, the last 5 pages are notes. Any box that's blue on here has a note associated with it, okay? Barring that, the numbers that are on here under the expense category in the green column are nothing more than the average over the last 3 years that was actually spent in each of those areas. Okay, so it's nothing I've made up or dreamed up, it's just what was actually spent. The blue boxes may not be exactly that, and the notes explain why that is. The income section at the top on the front page is the actual money that was in the bank on December 31st, 2013. It's broken down into 3 categories. You can't see them there, but there's fire, snow, and capital improvements. Yellow is the budget we're working with right now. The light green is the summary for each of the categories, and the dark green is the detail for the categories. So I'm not going to go into all the numbers right now just to save some time, but please take a look at this and let me know your thoughts. There are areas where the existing budget is essentially right on the averages. There's areas where it's not. But this shows you exactly where that is. And my suggestion for the board is to hold a public hearing that's kind of tentatively scheduled for May 9th so that we can talk to this in detail, and we'll go through it line item by line item at that time. Any questions right now? There have been a couple of suggestions. We talked to this at length last night. There were some suggestions, and you heard a couple already this morning, for changes to this, and that's the idea. This is just a draft, just a straw man that just gives us historical data that we have to work from, and now we can go through and just massage this and make it what we need it to be. Mike mentioned the fee, just so that you understand how this budget process works. We owe to the county in July every year what we feel the tax assessment needs to be for us to operate the following year, because like this is 2014. You'll get a tax notice in October that reflects what we set as the fee schedule between now and July. You'll pay those taxes in November, December, and that's the money that we have in 2015 to operate under. So we have to do some long-range planning here, and there are a lot of unknowns at this point, but we need to make that determination, because once we certify to the county, here's what we need in taxes, that's it. And that's all the money we will get to operate next year. So this is a vehicle to help us do that. So help us by giving some input also in areas that you think might need to be different than what we have, or if you agree, let me know that too. I mean, I'm open for whatever input that you have. Did I miss anything?
I just wanted to answer your question directly. If you look at building expenses here as an example, what Frank was talking about, this number right here is what the board last year approved for building expenses. This number here, this 13,499, is the average that the 12 board, the 11 board,
And 13.
and the 13 board had. So in this case, this number is higher than this number. We're good there. If you look at communications, it's just the opposite. I'm just showing this as an example. This is what the other 3 years, the average was for those 3 years. This is what we're working with. So there's about $500 there. And without going through the rest of the document, an example that Chuck brought up earlier about the physicals. There is nothing in the budget that we're working under that talks about physicals. And at, what is it, $150 a person?
125.
125 a person times 20 something that the chief said that we have as volunteers. That's what we need in the budget to provide physicals for these folks. Not only for their safety, but again for the liability to protect us as a district if something happens to them. So there are some places where we're good in the budget, but there are some places where there is nothing. Hence the amended budget that we have to, and it's not going to help us this year, but it'll help next year. The last thing is, Ed was whispering to me, if we're going to have this public hearing on May 9th, we have to identify a fee. And the fee that I think that Frank has on his 2-page sheet is to go back to the $85 a lot, which is what it was before. In 12, I think it was 85, and then they went to 65.
In 13, it was 85. 14 went to 65.
I'm sorry, right, because of this confusion with the certification letter. We need to go back to $85 a lot, and that's what the public hearing would be for, in addition to the proposed changes in the budget, which gets us back on track. And the plan is, as we develop the budget at the end of this year for 2015, we will submit the certification letter shortly thereafter, so we're not in this confusion of, we know what we're going to get at the end of 2015 because we submitted the letter, if that makes sense.
Now you got me confused. I thought that this is a 2014 budget that we have up here.
It is.
And we want to get that corrected, amended.
Yes.
And that's what the public hearing is for.
Yes.
As for the fee increase, that has nothing to do with the 14 budget. That has to do with the 15 budget. We could hold a public hearing on that in June, separate from this, so we aren't mixing the two up, so that we could certify it at the end of June. Ed?
Sorry, I was looking at something else.
The board, the 2013 board sent the certification letter in, and you folks that were on the board, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the end of October and November. Somehow we're off cycle, and we're living with $65 a lot, is what we're living with because of that letter.
And that's what this budget amendment reflects.
Right, but to get us back on cycle, when we submit that letter, it has to reflect the $85 a lot fee, which it gets us back on cycle. We're not on cycle now.
No, I disagree. We certify the 85, if that's what we want, for the 2014 notice for our 2015 budget.
We're saying the same thing.
No.
Yes, we are. You just said the same thing, but I just said a different way.
No. This that we got up here is the amendment to the 2014 budget, which is the $65 income, which is what we're working against, right? Doesn't this reflect the 65?
Yeah.
Okay. No, it doesn't?
This does, yeah,
Okay,
this does.
okay.
The 65 was for 2014, for 2013 taxes that were paid in December, and that's the monies that we're working with right now. Okay.
Okay. If we want to raise it to the 85, that has to be into the county by the end of June, which will be reflected in our 2015 budget, which we do the end of the year. If we were trying to do two things. One, amend this budget to reflect the 65, and two, talk about raising the fees back to the 85, which is a separate issue. And I would think that we would be better off to keep those two issues separated so we aren't confusing them.
You can have budget increase hearing and fee increase hearing at the same time.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Commissioner Heaton?
I guess my question is, and I think the answer to the question will solve the problem, are we amending the current budget? It was set at 65.
We're amending the 2014 budget
Yes.
to remain at the $65 that was collected last
To
December.
remain at 65 or to move to 85? That's my only question.
That's what we're doing, what you just said.
You're amending the 65 to 85. You're changing the budget that we're currently operating in.
No, that's not reflected in this budget.
No. We're proposing to amend the existing budget just to give us more line items to identify unfunded potential expenses for the year. Within the 65.
Within the 65.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what this is, and that's what that proposed public hearing is on. The fee increase would be to be collected in December for our 2015 budget, right? We
Yes.
can't go
Yes.
back and collect
No, we
another
don't.
$20 for this year.
No, and we don't want to. We don't want
We're
to.
not going to.
And this budget does not do that. But if we hold the two public hearings together, we're going to confuse everybody, just like the board is basically confused.
You want to say something?
well, you've got options. It's just a matter of figuring out what you want to do. Something to keep in mind, and this is just prior years when the board has had to borrow a little bit of money, for example, contacts with some of the banks up north, Zions Bank. The guy told me there are large districts up north, school districts, that basically borrow every year, every penny they operate, because that tax money comes in at the end of the year.
Sure.
And so if you guys can operate in such a way that you've got the money in the bank for the year, that's great, and that's the objective. But what Frank's saying kicks in as well. There are other restrictions on how much you can keep for a rainy day. And so I think you're right on track, and it's just what you want to do. You're doing. That's all I have to say. It's what you want to do at this point. The frustration is that at the 65, you don't think you can function the way you need to function this year. That probably leads to an amended budget at some point, and not just a fee increase. But it doesn't. But it's not an amended budget that's going to say we got $85 a house property this year, because you didn't. So.
Suggestion, Mr. Chairman, to help alleviate this confusion, if the May 9 meeting is to purely discuss an amended 2014 budget, and then hold a separate meeting after that to discuss whether or not we should have a fee change for the 2014 budget cycle.
2015.
No, it's 2014. It's monies we get in 2015, but it's 2014 budget. I'm sorry, not budget, tax cycle.
Tax cycle, yeah.
Yeah, tax.
We can do it that way, you're doing the same thing. I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
the
it's just
differences. We just have to have two public
keeping
hearings.
it's harder on us, but it helps keep, you know, that way we're focusing on one thing at a time and not getting confused like this.
Do you have another comment?
You know what, I do, but I'm reluctant to say it because it's gonna make it worse. But let me just so you know, this is what the reality is. The money you collected in 2014 December is for the 2014 year. It is. I mean, I'm as confused about that as you are, but the fact of the matter is that money is your 2014 budget, and the money you come in, you'll end up using in 2015, but that money is fund balance until it's used, because that's just the way the system is. The system's stupid. Otherwise, you would have to borrow money all year long,
Yes.
and then pay it back in December, which is the way it is intended to be. But since we don't like to borrow money and pay interest, we have a fund balance, and that's what you've done. But technically, the money that you are getting in 2015 is your 2014 budget. It is. I'm sorry.
No, you're,
Whichever.
Commissioner's absolutely right. I was trying not to make it quite so.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
No, that's right, that's exactly right. Whichever way you decide to go, if you're looking at a public hearing for one or both, today needs to be formal action, or for whatever that is, a tentative budget, tentative fee increase. So that's, you know, if both are there, we need to have a tentative budget that we put out and a tentative fee for one or the other. That's essentially up to you guys.
So there's a motion on the table for either or.
Well, do we need a motion? What's the procedure for accomplishing this then?
You take board action. It doesn't require board action to set a tentative budget numbers or fee numbers or both. It's up to you what you want to do.
Okay.
At a prior public hearing that's designated for that.
Well, the public hearing happens afterwards. This is the tentative one that goes with them.
Okay, let me see if I can word a motion that will meet what we need. I move that we schedule a public hearing to discuss a proposed budget revision for 2014. I'll have a separate motion to discuss the fee increase.
I'd second that motion. Based on what is presented.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the table to hold a public hearing on May 9th at 6 p.m. to hear an amended budget, and it's been seconded.
Do you have an amended budget drafted? That
Yes.
You can say, this is our proposed amended budget.
Because it has to be available, you said 7 days prior to that public hearing.
On the 2014 budget, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Okay, second motion, I move that we schedule a public hearing to discuss possible fee change for the 2014 tax cycle. Date to be determined.
We have to declare a date, don't we?
gotta set the date.
Do you want to have discussion?
Well, yeah.
I have some more thoughts for you, I do. I'm saying it's up to you, but.
Get them in quick, because we need to be in this.
Okay. Following your action, we put a special notice in the paper, as a special blackboard, it can't be classified as, it has to be quarter of a page, and it has to say a consequence that's going to result if your formal action is taken, okay? And those notices are actually easier to do if you include the fee in them. Because then you can say, we are adopting a proposed budget, we have a proposed budget, it's available for inspection, and we have a proposed fee increase this much. Each property owner will pay this much more per year, and it kind of is easier to do it all at once. But it's up to you guys. You know, I would combine the process rather than spread it out. But I'm not a board member, and I reluctantly say that.
Well, you have a motion that's approved to have a meeting just for the amended budget. So you would have to have another motion to eliminate, we just voted on, and then make another motion.
No, you just need a motion to do the fee at the same time. If you want to do that.
Well, you can do, I suppose you can do it that way too.
But I'm, you know,
But that's not the
nobody
motion.
elected me to do anything, okay? So it's up to you.
That's not the motion you just presented.
Yeah.
He presented a second motion to discuss a proposed fee increase at a date to be determined. That's the motion that's on the table.
It hasn't been seconded, so I can still change it.
Actually, the motion probably isn't adequate because the motion needs to include a date and a proposal, I think.
Since I voted in favor of the last motion, I asked for reconsideration of the former motion.
Just say your new motion.
Well, we can rescind it.
No, we've got to,
Okay, Frank, are you withdrawing your motion from the table? Yes or no?
The second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll rescind that
Okay.
motion.
That's off the table.
now I asked for reconsideration of the former motion.
And what would you like it to be?
I'd like to cancel it. I'd like to, in my reconsideration, I'd like to nullify the former action.
And do what?
Then you can come back with a motion to do both.
Do it all at the same
Like,
time?
Yeah, in one motion. And I'd suggest, and so that we can,
Fee increase may not carry along with it. Do that.
Somebody put a motion on the table to include the fee increase along with the proposed amended budget to be held at 6 p.m. on May 9th.
we got to rescind that former motion.
No,
We don't?
Just make a motion to add in.
Add in the fee increase.
Do we need to specify the amount?
Yes. Yep. You need tentative budget, you need proposed amount. You've got tentative budget, you're circulating it, frankly.
You want me to try to do it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's try this again. I'll move that we include as part of the discussion at the May 9th budget meeting.
No, not as discussion, as a hearing on
You're fine.
Who do I listen to?
I can state a proposal motion for you. I mean, somebody can adopt it.
Go ahead.
The motion would be to add for consideration of the public hearing, already called for May 9th, the question of a fee increase of $20 per lot. For fire, yeah. We're not talking about a stone increase over there. It's $20 fine.
and $5 for stone.
We are talking about $5 stone? Okay.
I'd like to.
So 20 and 5.
I think we needed 10 to get us over that, what we were talking about last night. $5 keeps us under the, I don't have that. We need 347. I'm sorry, 346, 330. $5 doesn't get us there. $110 per taxable parcel gets us to $337,150. So we're under the top end of the range.
I know. But we've also got some reserve fund in there too.
So
You can always amend your contract.
please, the public is not allowed to speak. You weren't here at the beginning. The public is allowed to make comments after we've got the motion on the table and seconded. I'll allow comments, not until then.
Okay, so the motion as stated is, can you restate it again?
Well, okay.
Including the snow.
Well, all right,
It'll work.
you,
$5 will work? Okay.
you
$5
have,
will
you
work.
huh?
$5 will work.
Okay. You've already taken action to call a public hearing, May 9th, 6 p.m. And the public hearing topic is your tentative budget for 1 year, tentative amended budget for 2019-14 that you're circulating now. The motion that I think someone wants to make is to add to that public hearing for consideration, public hearing and consideration, the topic of a fee increase, proposed fee increase that you wish to circulate and publicize and notify people of before the hearing is $20 per year snow, $5 per year snow.
Okay, I so move.
You got it.
I'm not gonna try to say all that again.
Okay, the motion is on the table. To have a public hearing on May 9th at 6 p.m. to discuss an amended budget in addition to a proposed fee increase of $20 for fire, which would bring us to $85 a lot, and $5 for snow increase, which would bring us to $115 a lot. Both will be discussed at a public hearing on May 9th at 6 p.m. And the budget, the amended budget will be, that's just not part of the motion. It'll be available for public viewing 7 days before. Is it seconded?
I would second that motion.
It's seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, at this point, and I apologize for this, but we probably need a bathroom break anyway. We need to call a recess for this meeting in order to go in closed session. And I need a 2/3 vote from the board that's present to do that. It is for pending litigation. And we shouldn't be in closed session more than 10 or 15 minutes unless people get long-winded. I didn't say this.
Recess at
Well,
what time?
we have to vote to go. Somebody has to make a motion, has to be seconded, and we need 2/3 of the people.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion to go into closed session at this time.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to go into closed session at this time for pending litigation. It's been seconded by Sharon. Poll the board.
Jim? Sharon?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
Frank? Aye. Jay?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. We got the 2/3 vote. So at this time, it's 11:40 hours on April the 12th, 2014. The Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District Board of Trustees monthly meeting is in resource in order to go into closed session for pending litigation. Okay, it's 12:18 hours on April the 12th, 2014. This is the Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District Board of Trustees monthly meeting. We have reconvened from closed session. We have all the board members present, with Jay Wilhelm being on the phone. Jim Barbeau has been excused for a personal commitment. We still have a quorum, and we'll reconvene. We're back on the agenda. Now we'll go back to to old business, new business, and finish it out in sequence. The next item up was the radio tower, and I put my name there. That was something that Pat Coley was supposed to report back on, and she actually did in an email, and I forwarded the email to all of you. I don't remember what the email said. It had to do with the building permit and that kind of stuff, but we have Andy Gagliardo, not Gagliardi, has volunteered to help us with the radio tower.
Yep.
I think. I'm putting words in your mouth.
Yep. No, that's correct, Mike. And here's what we came up with. Basically, just a quick little history on this. The tower was installed in 2003. It was approved by the U.S. Forest Service, who actually owns the land here. There is no FAA approval or license needed on this tower. It's a 50-foot CB hand radio tower. Anything extending over 200 feet would need FAA lights and paint. We do not classify for that. There's no FCC license required for the tower. We are permitted and FCC compliant with the repeater in the back room. The antenna is on the tower right now. The 50-foot tower came down about 2 years ago? Chuck, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
3 years.
About 3 years ago.
4,
we had it.
yeah. 3 years and 4 years both.
Yeah, back to backs. With volunteers, basically with backhoes trying to plow out the snow, we were taking major damage to the back of the fire station with the snow, and they hit one of the guide wires, ripped the tower down. We were able to secure funding through the grants, Cindy and Sharon, fundraising money actually, and we purchased another 40-foot tower. What we experienced during the shingles fire was we had interference on our main repeater, which was right off of 89 during the shingles fire, and we switched over to the main repeater here, and we could not hit or do any communications whatsoever in Swains Creek. So that's why we requested and we asked for it, and we received money to go ahead and buy an additional tower to get the tower back up to where it needs to be. I just was out there with Commissioner Heaton, and we kind of looked at everything and dug it out a little bit. The tower, the existing base of the tower is not rusted through, it's surface mount rust. It was not installed correctly, and we're not going to put a point on how it got installed, but the volunteers did not install the original tower back in 2003. That being said, we need to add some concrete before raising the tower up. Commissioner Heaton did ask that I talk to Shannon down at King County. King County has nothing on the books in regards to CB ham radio towers, and this thing actually falls into that category. It is public safety, but it's a lightweight 50-foot CB ham radio tower. This is really a no-brainer. But I will coordinate per Commissioner Heaton, and I will talk to Shannon down at King County and make sure that I have her blessings on everything before we move forward on anything. So at this point, what we're going to look at is possibly adding some concrete and get any kind of approvals from King County as needed. U.S. Forest Service, I can reach out to them again, but the original approval was 2003, 2004 from U.S. Forest Service, and their deal was, this is our property, anything out there that you do, you have to get approval from us. The chief at the time did. That's how the tower went up. So, other than that, I'm going to move forward with the board's approval, and I'm just going to move forward on this and start looking to see if that tower is really, I need to dig a little bit more out there. I want to see if it's rusted totally through or if it's just surface mount. If it is, we're going to dig it up a little bit more. We're going to add concrete to it before we move up higher. Now, the question came about with the roof repairs. Was this tower originally bolted to the fire station? Besides on the ground, was it bolted to the fire station? The answer is yes. And therefore, Chuck, you and I, we need to touch base after I get any kind of concrete or anything that I need to try to get done there. I don't want to jeopardize what you're doing if we need to bolt this back to the fire station, the top of the roof part. So you and I will touch base before we do anything whatsoever with that. I don't want to jeopardize what you're doing if we hit. You know we got roof repairs going on over there.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
Okay.
We had it guyed at one time. Are we going to re-guy it?
That came up, and I was talking with Chief, and I was actually working with Chief Miller before he left during the shingles fire. As most of you know that were on the fire with us. We had IC started down at Swains Creek. We moved IC when the Type 3 team came in. We moved it up here. We actually used the fire station as the IC. This will always be the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, the Emergency Communications Center during a big disaster up here. We don't have a community center. You know, someday it would be great if Duck Creek actually had a community center somewhere we can meet as a town, but this is the meeting place. So that being said, I was working with Chief Miller before he left, and I'm now working with Chief Tuttle. And the issue came back up again is if we, God forbid, we ever have emergency again, like the shingles fire, this is the hub. This is your EOC, Emergency Operations Center, and this will be your Emergency Communications Center, ECC. We would look at addressing that tower back up, all the antennas again, at a later date, and we wouldn't need to put guide wires on it, yes. Because we're going to bring in all the radios there. We want to make it where U.S. Forest Service sits down, BLM, police, fire, who's ever here working the incident, they have their phone and they have their radio.
Correct. Now, we've been using this as one.
Correct.
Cedar Mountain 1. We've got to tie in, or did have, to Zion View.
Yeah, what we found out with that was this repeater here ties in to Strawberry because we have no communications out there. So what we did, part of the narrowband project, the FCC mandate, and the board did approve us purchasing radios, updating all of our equipment. If you're out at Zion View, we actually have the old fire station out there where there's a red box, there's a radio in it, it's on batteries and solar panel. There's a cheat sheet that as soon as you open up the door, it tells you key up the radio. Once you do that, you talk on that radio there, it automatically touches this repeater here. This repeater here is wireline to 911 dispatch. So automatically you get a dispatcher, she asks, what's your problem? She already sees on her readout on her cab that this is coming from Strawberry, Zion's View.
Right.
That's still up and running. We did find out a few months ago that the old fire board disconnected, or had the South Central disconnect the line. We did ask the old Chief Miller to go ahead and reinstate that line and justify the funds for us. Why Cedar Fire was paying for that line back there, and to my knowledge, it's back it up. I have not tested it.
Is there phone service out there that can be eliminated?
No.
Not yet. Okay, because we discussed 2 years ago moving that to Navajo Lake Lodge.
Correct.
And that was one of the reasons we needed the higher tower, was so that we could hopefully get service then, because there is no service from Navajo Lake, and that would be the emergency call down.
Correct.
From Navajo Lake. Would it be advisable then, I assume you're going to be communications officer?
I did accept that position back 2 weeks ago. About 2 weeks ago, I did come back to the Cedar Mountain Fire as firefighter and the communications officer for the chief.
Would you recommend that we install a second call down then from Navajo Lake area? Or
correct. I actually wrote up a report. I did submit it to Chief Miller, and I did submit notes from Chief Miller to Chief Tuttle. So he does have the big picture, the project plan, what our vision was for comms in both areas. So if we do raise that tower back up, we don't have to necessarily shut down Zion's View. We're going to spear off of this one here, and we're going to run some tests down in Navajo.
So
we can do both from
both
the tower.
To this.
Yes. And then we'll also be back to where we should be, where we had interference like on the shingles fire, and we lost our main repeater, which was being slammed by Page, Arizona at the time that we had our fire, and we switched to this one, and it did not communicate as well because we were 40 feet too low. Yeah. We always have this one as a backup too, besides those two.
Okay. Then can you get us an estimate of what we can put in the budget for that additional out there?
Sure.
And would you make sure that that call down line from Zion View works, so that the telephone line is back?
Well, what we did was we eyeballed it back here, but I actually need to drive out there and actually test that radio. The way to really test it is go out there, test that radio. The wire line is still hooked up here, but it was hooked up here when we found out that we had an individual get hurt out there, and they said the radio system didn't work. And we were like, sure it doesn't. No, it didn't. After some investigation, we found out, to save some cost, nobody could identify why we were paying South Central for that line. That line was hooked up to the repeater. So I will go out to Zion's and I will test it and see if I can talk back to 911 to dispatch.
Yeah.
I'll do that. And I'll get you guys some numbers. The cost on adding some concrete to this to get the tower above the ground, because from what we can tell, the hole was done correctly. The tower sits 5 feet in the ground. There's a lot of concrete, but the concrete was not above the dirt like it should have been.
Yeah, what we can probably do is drill and put some epoxy, some rebar into the top of that slab, or the top of that footing.
That's what the commissioner was saying, just
And
spread it
then
out.
pour over it with, and those rebars will pin it in.
That's exactly what the commissioner was saying. So, that's it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
A little off subject, but communication with Station 2 is almost non-existent. Can you include in the money numbers that you're going to get us what it would take to provide good comms between here and Station 2?
What we did was part of the narrowband project is we were using a lot of the fundraising money, which we appreciate Sharon and Cindy actually let us get our very little hands on there for comms, but we had to do that per the FCC mandate. We did not, we had radios that were not going to be compliant at all. When we did our budget, we had enough money for portable radios, 1 or 2 mobiles, the radio out of Zion. We did not have money, which actually came out to $400, an additional $400 to put the radio out at station number 2. I can get you a fresh quote or multiple quotes, whatever the board needs, for that $400 radio that we don't have, but we still need it. And I was going to donate the antenna and the labor to install them.
That was turned down by a previous board when we went and
Well, I think we
narrow-banded
need to rethink that.
So again, I'll work on that and get you, like I said, it was only $400, and I was going to pick up donating. The Cedar Mountain Amateur Radio Club is going to donate the antenna, and we're going to donate our time to string the coax. So it's just a matter of purchasing the radio. We do not need one of the 110 watt Kenwood Wazoo radios that we have in the rigs. That would be overkill. We just needed a little base station out there, something that would work.
Okay,
Thank you. Next up is the ICS 100 and NIM 700.
I'll do that next month.
Okay. You didn't give me a chance to point you out.
Huh?
You didn't give me a chance to point you out.
Well, everybody knows it's me.
Well, your fingers are better.
Huh?
Your fingers are better.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. Next thing is Community Fire Council, and that's Chuck to give us a report. He's been working with Earl of Anger. I forgot his name.
What we've worked out is because of the limits on the grant and such, we do have enough money that we can hire some chippers to come in, and that if people will clean up their lots and bring the material out to the edge of the lot, that we can chip it there. And we do have information on it that Jay will be getting in the lookout that has been provided. There will be no cost to the property owners for the chipping, and the chipping will be provided between July 1st and September 30th of 2014, and the last day for piling your material to be chipped will be Sunday, August 17th. The piles created after August 17th deadline cannot be chipped because we'll be contracting with chippers, and they've got to know how much there'll be. There's information that will be in the outlook on how the piles will be constructed. They should be within 5 feet of the graded road. We can chip material up to 8 inches. However, we would request that anything smaller than 3 inches in diameter be placed in one pile. Anything 3 inches to 8 inches be placed in another pile that could be used for firewood, whereby people could pick it up and use it for firewood over the winter. Natural vegetation only. There's information in here, and we can make copies for anybody that wants it now, but we're getting that information out through the
Did I distract you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did. Through the homeowners associations, and what it includes is a sign-up sheet where you can give us the addresses that your lots, and you can sign up multiple lots.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The chair recognizes this mic.
I thought you were waving the chair.
No, I was trying to ask you a question. I know you've been trying to contact some of the homeowners associations.
Yes.
So when they're signing up from July 1st to September 30th, the various people in the various subdivisions, and let's use Meadowview for example, that's the place you're going to be chipping at, as an example. When the chippers leave, are they going to go back?
They will go back so that anything, they'll start chipping early, but anything that they'll chip through the end of September, but anything that's signed up before August 17th will be chipped.
Okay.
We can't guarantee that material piled after the 17th would be chipped.
In that, in the information that we're going to put into the lookout, will that be specified there?
Yes, the dates are specified on there. And it will basically be the areas that are covered by snow removal.
The reason I'm asking is, let's say for example, you're doing that the first couple of weeks of July, and then the chippers move on to another subdivision.
They'll come back.
If they don't come back, and winter sets in, and we've got all this stuff laying on the roads in various subdivisions, and Cmfpd is going to be the target because it will appear to the public that we're the ones that are doing this, when it's actually contractors. But we're going to specify all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that it piled not on the roadway. It'll be piled 5 feet back from the roadway.
But I mean, even at that one, when the guys are plowing, assuming we're not blessed to have another winter like this one, there's snow and they start pushing the snow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you can't pile near a fire hydrant or near a driveway or a utility box.
Good. Cool.
There's the information in here. There's also 5 websites to go on that we give in here that gives information on the trimming and such.
Any questions, comments?
I think it's wonderful.
It's a good idea.
I was under the impression that Earl was saying they were only going to do Meadowview Heights. So if you have other subdivision clean up, I think stuff's going to just sit there. That's my understanding.
No, we're doing all the subdivisions.
Sure.
Swain, Strawberry, south of 14 and north of 14 here in Duck Creek, Ridge, Color Country, Movie Ranch South, Movie Ranch, Meadowview, Lakeview Estates, or what is it?
Mirror Lake.
Mirror Lake, yeah.
When he was here, Jerry, I remember him, he had said that they needed to get the contacts for all the subdivisions. So that's why I was assuming it was all the subdivisions, because he was asking for it.
Not Elk Ridge,
Yeah.
but we originally had planned that we would chip certain dates in each subdivision. And then we decided that that was not as workable and that we instead went with this method of have to be piled by August 17th, which is a Sunday.
The chipping, where will that be placed? Will it be replaced on the lot or hauled away?
We're still working on that. We're trying to get it hauled off so that they chip into a truck and then haul it off. But we would dump it in
contacted Mike Kenner and asked to use his lot down there to put the chippings on, and that anybody that wants them to use them for mulch could pick them up down there. And if you'd want the chips put back on your lot, just piled on the edge of the lot, we could probably do that, but you'd want to make sure that we knew that in the sign-up.
Anybody else? Any questions? Thanks for the report, Chuck, for the update. Jeff's back, so we're going to go out of sequence again. We'll move down to the King County Water Conservancy District.
Okay, I appreciate that. Jay Wilhelm called me Thursday, or actually called the office, wanting, the board was wanting an update or information on projects, future and present, that the water district is doing. As of right now, Zion View has had water all winter long, so the hydrants are charged, the tanks are full, and everybody's online. This summer we intend to finish that project with the intent of having the roads done. There's a couple of roads that are going to be questionable only because of the slope of the road. The county kind of has a little problem with that, but we're going to try and work through that. So what we're going to do is cut the roads, cut the gutters in, the ditches in, and then put about a 5-inch base throughout that. So last year we got the road done going from Strawberry out to Zion, or out to the cattle guard. That's completed and done. But there's still a little bit of work to be done out there as far as water system. Future project, we've been working with the Forest Service to try to take over the lagoons so that we can move forward with putting a sewer system in the village. It's not the rest of the subdivisions, it's the village itself, the business sector. Hopefully within a year or so, the Forest Service will work with us enough that we can do that. What that's going to do, there's a couple options with that. We may have to replace all the plumbing from the village this way to increase the pipe for the volume. Right now it's an old clay 4-inch pipe that runs from in front of the village to the second grinder station and then up to here. You'll probably get a visit from Sunrise to have an idea of where that sewer comes through and where you guys connect onto it. You may have to come through and replace all that just for the additional volume. So your pavement will get probably cut and redone, but it'll all get put back together. That's all part of the project to have that done if they see we need to do that. They intend to send a pig through and or a camera to see to try to evaluate the pipe itself, just evaluate the condition.
That pipe doesn't run under the paved lot?
Yes, it runs straight out from this building, and then it actually comes from across the road under the highway, which is a boring. We'd have to rebore or do whatever. And then it goes out through the meadow. We probably have seen, there's a grinding station out in the meadow, and then there's a grinding station just the drop off as you come from the east side of the village. There's a grinding station and power there. There's another thing to go with that too, which has been brought up. Chuck's aware of it. The power that you guys are running off of is 30 years old. It needs to be replaced. The Forest Service owns that line. It's not Garcane. So Garcane won't have anything to do with it other than if it gets replaced, Garcane will upsize the conductor and the new power line and obviously put it in a sleeve. That's got to be worked out. The other option is disregard that, stop the power at the last grinding station. Garcane has more power on this side in Mere Aspen. And what they'll do is reroute the power and bring it in a different way over to here and then tie into lagoons and stuff. The other thing with that too is the water factor. We're looking at, if the fire district wants it, to run you a water line over here. It'll be an 8-inch main. And that would be part of the future of the township deck.
Jeff, if they brought water over, would you make it a loop and hook it in from Aspen Mirror to, or not Aspen Mirror? What?
Yeah, it'd be the backside of Aspen Mirror there on the
And
first
then
road.
hook it in as a loop over into, towards the Pine Woods.
Beans, I don't have a map with me. Draw you out something real quick. So, here's 14. Here's Mammoth Creek Road. Here's Lake Drive, and then one of the last cul-de-sacs. The fire district is here, and then this is Duck Creek Ridge Road. The proposed Township Act is actually going to take up property here. The lagoons are sitting here. See if I remember all this. This will be Kane County. This would be the school district. And this is the hospital. The fire district, your property would enlarge up to 11 acres. This is King County Water Conservancy District. All of this because of the lagoons and for future lagoons in this area.
I think just the lagoons are actually
Further back.
in.
Yeah, they're off to the side of you.
Yeah.
So we took in enough room so that we can enlarge or go with extra lagoons or whatever. In the last couple of weeks I've made another proposal that we actually, because somehow all of this is supposed to connect to private land according to the Township Act through the Forest Service. It doesn't serve much purpose to do this, but yes, we can take the water line, tie it in. Right here in Duck Creek, I have, at the last hydrant, there is a T that we can go ahead and tie onto that and run water. So my proposal was also to take this area, which is where that parking area and whatnot, where King County parks now, and make this part of the Township Act, that when and if this village ever incorporates, this would become theirs. Then you can put in your senior citizen, your whatever that the community needs or thinks they need. So I've added that. That will enable us to tie this all together to private, and then also take water and make a loop and be able to serve these different entities. If and when that happens, then we can also bring power this way and then bring power also this way. And then we can maybe have to rearrange. So that sewer just goes right out here where your driveway is. It goes straight out. It goes across the meadow. Comes across here. And then here's the turnoff to go into the village. And it comes right across there and then across in front of the village. So there's a pumping station here. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
Right about
there.
here, and then there's one here.
And that's, that second egg, the last X you put up there is about where the power came in. Where the
No, Garcane, actually, your guys' power comes off of where Brandon's building is.
Yeah.
Where your meter is.
Right.
right down there.
Right.
And that's where we're underground from that pole.
Yeah, if we keep that power there.
Rather,
For
yeah.
this, and then for this one, we'll bring it and bring different power to this pump grinding station. Or we might even move the grinding station over to here. Enlarge this one, because we're having to redo all the pipe.
This one has a fairly low point now.
My question about the sewer pipe was, is the parking lot going to be dug up and trucks can't get in and out? That's what I was getting.
There'll be probably a time, a day or whatever that would have to happen. I mean, you'd have to leave your trucks
On the other side.
on the other side or out.
That was what I was asking.
Yeah, they could backfill.
They could dig it and do it probably in 2 days. Because depending on what else we need to do with that, if we have to do a bore, then you're talking about a big, huge hole off the side of your driveway, and then reroute it. I mean, we still got to get into your connection.
Actually, where our station sits here, there's a manhole out pretty much the center right there. And this is a pressure line up to there from this.
Right.
And it's pressure line underneath the highway. That's the breakover point where it goes gravity down to the lagoons. And we hook in right below that manhole.
Yeah. So that's just one of the projects that we're in right now with trying to complete and get done. The village really needs the sewer. There's a lot of different issues with the groundwater at that level. So, but that's that's the basics of what it's entailing. If the township goes through, which I think it will within the next year, and all the different entities want to participate, we still have to buy that land. So even with you guys, you might want to think about it in your budgets, even though we don't know what the price is. The Forest Service is supposed to give us a price this summer, the cost of the land. And that way you can purchase that additional 4 or 5 acres that's set aside to give you a total of...
Will the title have to go to Kane County?
No, the title would actually go to the different entities that purchase that land.
So that we would then be responsible. We've got almost 5 acres now, and that'd be another 6. So we'd be responsible for the cost of approximately 11 acres.
You know, I believe there's probably something that you guys could work out with the Forest Service saying, look, you also utilize the existing. Let's allow us to purchase the other and combine it and be done.
Okay.
I mean, that'll have to be an agreement because it's a Forest Service. You should do that. And
I had heard rumors that we were talking maybe $45,000 to $50,000 an acre.
I haven't heard that. I mean, the Forest Service has not given a price. When you're looking at $45,000 to $50,000 an acre, that is a developed lot with water, with power. That's not what you're getting. So
No, well, that'd be a half acre lot with power and water is going for about 40,000.
yeah.
So what I was basing it on was acreage without power.
Yeah. I have not. There has not been. They haven't thrown a number out there
Jay?
at all until they have their real estate person.
Jay,
I'm here.
you got any questions about the math we just drew? I had to do that.
Not at all. If somebody wouldn't mind taking a picture of it for future reference. Jeff, do you have a site plan for that, or a tentative site plan, a formal drawing?
Right now, we have a proposed mapping system to show and work with the Forest Service. That's still subject to change and be moved around a little bit, but that's what we've come up with as far as.
Could you send us a copy of that?
We can probably get you a copy of that once it's really kind of finalized, so that we're not going back and forth and back and forth. We're hoping by August, the Forest Service will agree to what we've come up with, and then come up with the pricing of that, of the property itself. And then we can have a big community Wahoo meeting and move from there.
Any other comments or questions?
Okay.
Sure.
I don't have access to it at the moment, but I am in receipt of an email from the Forest Service in 2009 when you were the chairman, where they discussed, or excuse me, 2009 when Brian Rodney, I believe, was the chairman, where they initially discussed a market price of $40,000 per acre. And then you were the chairman on the next email where they said we have not yet determined a price. And I did not get to hear clearly what you said about establishing a price per acre. Do you know where it stands?
I have, through Sunrise or anything else, even the commissioners, we have not, there has not been any price set yet. I mean, the Forest Service has to have one of their realtors, land evaluators, come out and evaluate it and walk it. And that has not happened yet to even come up with a reasonable price.
Okay. That answers all my questions. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for coming back. I'm apologetic that our closed session took so long, and I appreciate your effort.
Okay. Is there any other questions or thoughts?
Sharon has one.
Are they, with this town site act, are they going to try and put sewer in our subdivisions?
You won't see it, and neither will I.
Good. Because it would cost.
Sewer's about 4 times what water is. No. The issue is not, is what could come down the pipe, folks, is the state could come out, and the EPA, they can come out and work with us to help us either combine our septic systems that we have now with our neighbors and put it under a management program that we can facilitate ourselves and manage ourselves with paperwork or do whatever. But to eliminate septic systems and put in a sewer system, it's not going to happen in our lifetime. It just ain't. The economy and the economics is not there to sustain that. It just isn't. But we can look at different media that we can put in our septic leach fields to help absorb the nitrates. The biggest issue with the water is when I do sampling, it's the nitrates. And the nitrates haven't moved hardly at all to warrant that yet. So it's just mainly the village where the groundwater is.
Okay.
Now, I've had several people calling in questions for snow removal out at Zion. I keep referring that back to the fire district. They came to you, they got to come to you again. It's not, it has nothing to do with us. As a water district, we have nothing to do with the roads either. We just...
There's a process that they have to follow, similar to when they withdrew.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks. And I want to say your Chief Casey has been really good to work with. He's calling in when they take water and this and that. In fact, I showed him and a couple other people, Eric and them, one of my booster stations and showed them how the SCADA works. And I do know when people get in it and take a ton of water at one time, it does show up. So, anyhow. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks. Okay, next item up is policy number 3E100. And that was the one that we approved and with the sliding scale. And we had an item in there. Is that Am I talking about the right one?
This is the one titled Compensation and Timesheets.
Yes.
We didn't really approve it. What the board said was red card certification as one of the certifications for the pay rate to increase by $1 for each of the certifications was redundant because it was included in wildland firefighter certification. So we were asked to delete that. It's on page 2.
I have 2 of those in here. I have 2 new ones.
Yeah, one of them has a red on it, one of them does not. The one that does not is the one that's available for signature. The one with the red on page 2 is.
Oh, that's it.
Okay. So all we did was delete red card certification, and other than that, the board was pleased with it. So I would make a motion to approve the policy 3E100 CMFPD compensation and timesheets as shown last month and modified by deleting red card certification.
Second.
I second that motion.
Okay, we're having further discussion. Sharon has a question.
Did we decide there was going to be a cap? Or is it just going to keep raising and raising and raising, or is there kind of a, so that we can plan?
The way the policy is written, only those listed certifications increase the number.
So start at 8.
So if you starts at $8 and with $1 increase for each of the certifications, and those are the only certifications that you can increase that for.
Memory serves me correctly, that was the cap. Whatever it was, at $16.
It was the 15, yeah,
15,
that'd
I
be
think,
15.
yeah.
Without
If
the
I
red
remember
card.
right, that's what we said.
Yeah,
We capped at that. Do you remember?
can plan.
Do you remember? If it capped at that? I think it did.
Said 15,
Yeah.
but let me look. Is that what it comes up to?
The cap was at $15 because we added, I believe we added engineer.
Engine boss.
Engine box, that's what we added, right after the $16.
So the cap's 16?
That cap would be 15.
Oh,
15,
There's the engine.
yeah.
Oh, engine box, there it is. Okay.
Now, we're sure Wildland Firefighter 1 certification does not include the red card.
Well, that was the discussion on last month, was that it did, that red card was not going to be a separate
It was, yeah, it was a
certification, so that's why it was deleted.
Okay.
That way you don't get paid an extra buck just to get a red card.
Just, yeah, okay.
Okay.
But you can still, you can get your Wildland Firefighter 1 certification, but without the red card.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the table, and it's been seconded to accept 3E100 with the correction of eliminating the red card certification label that's in there. Any other discussion?
Pardon?
Is there any other discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Next one is the administrative position, that's Frank.
We, as you all know, we lost our board secretary, advertised for the position. We had 3 applicants. One of the applicants is from Las Vegas, moving up here end of June, so not available till July.
Who's
Becky Rivera.
isn't the chief from Southern Cal?
Yep. I'm sorry, Southern Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The second one lives in Canap, and I interviewed both of them by telephone, and the third was Cheryl. And incidentally, Cheryl has volunteered last night and today to do the meeting minutes for us on a volunteer basis. So I wanted to publicly thank her. She got into a lot more than she had thought that she would. But thank you very much. So those are the only 3 applicants that we have. The lady from Canap really is looking for a teaching position, high school or college. If we went with her, she would probably leave us as soon as she found the position that she's looking for. She originally thought that this was a seasonal job just for the summer. She hadn't even considered driving up here in the wintertime. So that she was very upfront that if she was to find another position more full-time and more in her field, that she would go for that. So those were all the applications that we had. I don't know, do you want to talk about, you all interviewed one each of them, or do you want me to?
You're doing a fine job.
I'm doing, okay. My recommendation then, based on interviewing all 3, is that we hire Cheryl Tuttle. There's a possibility of a perception of nepotism because she is the chief's wife. So if we decide to do that, I would say we should structure this to avoid any semblance of challenge there, that she would work for the board, not for the chief.
And I'd like to put in that in our training, LeGrand Bitter did say that with our small gene pool, small pool to choose from, that we don't really have to worry about the nepotism, as long as he would have nothing to do with her evaluation or anything like that. And she understood that.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate very much Cheryl's work and her volunteering to do this. However, I'm afraid that the appearance of nepotism is just far too strong. That here we are, we advertised locally. However, we didn't really advertise in Orderville, in Hatch, which is only 15 miles away, or in Panguitch. And I think that we limited ourselves with our advertising, and I'm afraid that the perception of nepotism is just far too strong, with the chief only having been here 4 months, 5 months, and then his wife being hired. An example is today they were sitting next to each other. That is definitely an appearance. And as a new board, I think we have to be extremely careful of this, and I would object to it on that basis.
Yes.
I would like to state things worked out really well with Art Moore and with Betty. We were able to,
That was very definitely nepotism, and if anybody would have challenged it,
no.
I'm sure it would have gone the other way.
LeGrand Bitter was talked to. Everything was fine.
Well,
it
may have been to you, but it wasn't to me.
Well, but to the average
Isn't this
person.
something that should probably be discussed in closed session?
No, this concerns policy on hiring and
Hiring of Cheryl? The hiring of Cheryl, you mean, or the other?
No, as far as, discussing the applicants,
Oh, we didn't say their names.
It's not one of the 6 things we can go in closed session for. So that's why we're discussing in the open.
I'd like to make a motion that we hire Cheryl. I think she understood. We'd make sure that Chief Tuttle understood. And I mentioned in her interview that we would work to not put her in that position. And I think we can do it. I think it worked out. And I know Betty, when there was something being discussed, she would leave. And you can do the same thing.
So that's a motion.
That's a motion that we hire Cheryl Tuttle as our secretary, or administrative assistant.
They have an option of taking emergency or temporary action of putting a term on it. Because you only had 3 applicants, and the other 2 aren't even really available. So that's a possibility. Which one is that?
It was on the web, it was,
Well, I had the suggestion with the lady from Canab. Because we're in this bind and we have nobody in the office at all right now, Frank's staying here 16 hours a day. I'm sure Carol appreciates that a lot.
and Cheryl has been volunteering and coming in.
The suggestion was if we considered both Cheryl and the lady from Canab, and if we worked them 2.5 days each, that's your 40 hours for the week, it would relieve the lady coming from Canab 2 days of driving, because I think that's the downside for Panguitch, for example. That's the downside to it, is you're trying to hire somebody at $11 or $12 an hour, and they've got to drive from Canab 100 miles round trip, and from the other place at least, 70 or 80. The downside is when you're going that far away, how long are they going to stay? I mean, if you're spending $25 or $30 a day in gas, if the woman was open to it, we'd be able to get the coverage, and if she gets this teaching job, which I don't talk this with Frank, probably not going to get hired until August. They don't advertise for school position jobs till later in the summer. We have the 2 people here. By that time, the other lady may be available, I guess, who is really qualified. She was working for the Hemet Fire Department as their secretary, and hire the woman as a temp, for example, if she wanted to come up here. Keeps her away from the chief. Chief does have administrative help in this temp person. That was a thought. But there is a motion on the table on this.
What are your thoughts?
That's fine.
I mean, you really believe all that stuff?
No. Sometimes it really helps to put a term on it. That's just what we call it. If you've got something else happening.
I think we gave Betty a 6-month, 3-month or 6-month, probation,
Yeah, but you're not really talking probation here. You're talking your job lasts maximum probably this much time.
Well, the other alternative is you go back to the drawing board and advertise again in all these other places. They may have that same feeling about the drive, they may not. I mean, who knows what people think? They're desperate to work. That means Frank's got more 16-hour days coming in his future. So there's a motion on the table. Do you want to withdraw it and restate it?
No.
No, I mean, talking about this term.
So what's the benefit of the term?
Just that there's not an expectation that it's a forever situation. It becomes very clear that it's based on need, and when another way of addressing need comes up, the relationship terminates. And so there's no hurt feelings that will probably happen.
So we could compromise and
6 months.
do the term thing and then advertise maybe in Panguitch, Cedar, Well, those Cedars got that issue too. Somebody gonna drive up the mountain in the wintertime to work.
And that's the issue, they have to be able to be here.
I'm sorry? Yeah, the winter
If
is,
you were gonna come that far, be serious.
no.
I don't know.
But it would appease this, if there's a perception in the public, and I don't know if there is, it would appease that she's on a term thing, and we'll see how it works out. Advertise, as Chuck says, it gives him his suggestion, we'll advertise in a couple of other places, but in the meantime, we've got somebody here at least
I'll amend
for 4
my,
hours a day.
I'll amend it to 6 months and to be checked into later.
Okay, I think what you want to say.
You say it, and I'll,
Okay. Employment, terminable at will, okay? Maximum term, 6 months. Can be terminated earlier because you're still looking for another applicant that would be unrelated. And that's probably enough for the motion, but if the gal from California comes up, she might, if she's available this summer and is serious, that might be where you want to go. So you probably don't want to be locked into 6 months.
we like to have two.
Okay,
End
that
up
works
with
too.
2 people and have them instead of work 4 hours, 5 days a week, work 2.5 days. It will give.
We have
Okay.
an appointment to interview the lady from Hemet on April 25th at 1 o'clock. Because we don't even know if she's interested, apparently. When you talk with her briefly,
I talked to her on the phone, yeah.
Well, and if we got her, we could put her as the go-between Shade.
Well, you don't know if you even have her. Put a term on it. Terminal at will, maximum anticipated employment 6 months, and leave it at
we'll
that.
see how the perception goes.
Yeah.
So there's a motion on the table to hire Cheryl Tuttle for a 6-month term. It's terminable at will. And is there a second for that? As we continue to look for additional applicants.
Mr. Chairman, may I recommend that the motion be modified slightly to offer her the position?
Yes, she will.
She may not like these restrictions, and I would submit that this is not the forum for her to have to make that
Did you
decision.
happen to notice that the whole time she stopped taking notes?
She had her back to me, so I don't know what that means.
I make that motion.
Do we offer her the position? I'll do that after the meeting for you.
Is there a second? Yeah.
So we don't have to make a motion now, is that what you want?
Now, we do need to determine the salary too.
The seconding.
So we can,
Oh.
do you want to make that all part of the same motion, that we offer her the position at a given amount?
Yes.
And a given amount is, anybody got any thoughts? You want to do that in the motion too? Oh, we're going to do that on the side, not tell anybody.
No. We had been talking 10 to 12.
Okay.
So my recommendation, and I'm not making a motion, but my recommendation would be start at 11.
11, that's what I was thinking.
So the motion has been amended. 6-month term, maximum, terminable at will for $11 an hour, and the position will be offered to her at the conclusion of the meeting.
And we'll find out whether we're wasting time.
We'll find out whether we're wasting our time. She might want $111 an hour. No. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table, it's been seconded. Any more discussion? Geez, I hope not. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Negative.
Okay, poll the board.
Mr. Barbeau is absent. Sharon?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
Chuck?
No.
Frank? Aye.
So the motion passes 4-1. Thank you. Pull teeth. Moving into new business. Do we need to take a restroom break? Are we okay to keep going? Most of these aren't going to take that long.
Let's get done.
Yeah. Okay, we got procedure 6A109, which is something that we talked about at the last meeting. And this talked about us using the software Microsoft Word 207 to create all our documents. If you remember, some of the documents are created in WordPerfect, and those two softwares don't talk to each other. So if you pull something up in WordPerfect and you're using Word, it comes out in Vulkan or something. I don't know. Something. Can't read it.
So Microsoft Word, which did you say?
Word 2007. No one uses WordPerfect, but I know of.
No.
How about Word Star?
You're
Word
dating yourself
2007 is what this policy says. And for the computers in the district that have Word 2010, you are able to save the document down to 2007. And most people that have the Word software have 2007.
Well,
So
I
you just-
have three.
It'll, as long as you save down, you can open a document. If you have 3 and somebody saves it in 10, you won't be able to open it. It won't open. So that's what this says. So we have a motion. You want to read it?
I'll make a motion we accept.
6A109
Yeah,
as written.
6A109 as written.
There's a motion on the table. Any more discussion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Jay. You woke up. Opposed? Abstained? Done. Next item on the agenda is a 5-ton truck. The chief had called, and there's a 5-ton truck that's available. It's an excess piece of property. We qualify because we have that DUNS number thing. I don't know a lot about the truck. It's low mileage. I remember him saying that.
It's got to be painted. Is that in the budget?
We need to add that in. I'm already thumbing through.
Also, what other equipment is going to have to be added to it? How much will that be?
It's not a fire truck. It's a flatbed truck or something. But he wants to put was what I thought.
It's a military 5-ton, looks just like our Deuce and a Half, except bigger.
Yeah. Then what's he want to use it for?
The plan right now is for a tender.
Then that's my question. How much is it going to cost to put a tank on it and a pump?
Tank,
And equip it?
you know, what he told me, the tank, Mammoth Creek had a tank made that's about the same size that we would want, and it cost about $4,500 for materials, and the guy made it
The
for
guy
free.
made it, yeah,
So
no cost.
he's guessing in the range of around $10,000 for that, and $3,000, I think, for a pump. It's somewhere in the notes here on the budget.
I believe he said too that he could acquire it, and if we decide that it's going to cost too much to paint it, do other things to it, you give it back.
Well, yeah, that's true, but we ought to know what we're asking, what we're committing ourselves to if we ask for it. As a condition to get it, will we have to paint the loader?
The reason why that it was on the agenda is there was a time period for him to acquire it, I believe. So he wanted to put the paperwork in. If we find that it costs too much to do what you're asking to do, we can give it back.
Why isn't he here to explain this?
Because he's in training.
Oh, it's on his list here, under year 1 for his list of things that he would like. He says water tank pump and equipment, 12,000 plus.
Do we have anything else that's doing the same job?
I don't believe so. I think that's why he's acquiring.
That's why it sounds like we need.
And the notes that I put on the proposed budget revision said possible 5-ton outfitting, tank pump, hose row, painting, and miscellaneous equipment. Was out of capital improvements, cell R73.
Don't see any problem. At least get it.
So the proposed budget has that in there.
Number?
R73, I think.
You got the floor. You got the floor.
I'm through. I question it. I think that, well, just my feeling.
Well, if there's a motion, it sounds like it's to submit the table motion or not. Is that what the motion would be?
There is there a motion?
That
I make a
There is one.
motion.
You made the motion. Okay.
I'll make the motion that we turn in the paper and see if it is something that will be doable for us.
So there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second to acquire this piece of equipment to see what it's going to take to outfit it / equip it. And if it exceeds what we currently have in the budget, we'll turn the truck back in. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pull the
Aye.
board.
Pull the board again.
Aye.
Sharon, aye. Mike?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
Chuck?
No.
Frank? Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Next item on the agenda is the Kingston burn pit mailbox and loader. We got that straightened out before the meeting started. It was just that Jim had the only key apparently, but he brought the keys in today, so we're all set. We're trying to make copies of the keys. The budget thing we already talked about. Public hearing we already talked about. Cmfpd emergency plan. The basic plan where we, I guess, or I am developing a plan, an emergency plan for the district. The basic plan is done. The checklist for the various board members is done. What I'm waiting for, and part of the reason is because Andy just came back on board as the commo officer. We need a communications plan for that document, and we need some phone numbers and contacts for Red Cross, Garkey, those kind of things, support services. And when that's done, I'll present it. It's not ready to be presented to the board. I thought it was going to be, but it's not. And I'll do it at a future meeting. And we're going to be able to show some of the plan to the public, and some of it, like the communications plan, we were not going to show to the public because it's sensitive information. And it's going to be a controlled document, and copies will be issued with the understanding that when the board members go away, they're going to turn the document back in. So I'll put that on again for next month, and hopefully I'll have it done by then. Next item is Dixie Levitt insurance policy. It was at least a month ago that Jay Wilhelm and myself went down at Cedar and visited with Dixie Levitt and our insurance agent. I sent all you folks, or I forwarded all you folks the coverages, the liability coverages for the plan. It's going to come up soon. I think Frank mentioned it earlier. And we're going to have to make a decision. This isn't something we're going to vote on now, but we're going to have to make a decision on if to increase some of the coverages contained in that plan to cover the volunteers and protect the district. And it's all dependent, Frank mentioned that earlier also, it's dependent on the amount of volunteers that we have. And it's not just the volunteer firefighters, it's all the volunteers. It's Carol and Cindy and all the other ladies, Don Van Dyne's wife, everybody, you're all considered volunteers. So we're going to have to do more research into that. And is it another month or 2 months? That policy expires. It's a month anyway.
I don't know.
It's at least a month. So just to let you know, we're looking into that. Next item up is comments from the public. And we'll do Jerry first, and then I know you have something to read, Karen.
Jerry Treebold, I've had some concerns, and I've expressed them to Frank. You're talking about bringing the rate increase back up for 2013 budget, I believe. What I'm concerned about is we had monies left over from 2011 and 2012. We have carryover prior year on capital improvements of $95,000. We had a carryover in the fire fund of $200,000. That almost covers any rate increase, definitely rate increase, whether we should even have a fire fund charge at all. I don't, you're collecting monies on this, on interest, on these two accounts. I don't see that that's really showing up. That's my concern. There's almost $300,000 out here that's not being accounted for, and I don't know why there should be increased funds.
The capital improvements, nothing can be done with
But it's money's left over. It's got to be a budgeted item.
Do you want to address that? You want me to address it? I think we talked about this when we were talking about the amended budget. That when you create Hello?
Is there a point of order here for the public comment section? Is this a discussion or is it public comment only?
it. Comment.
The board's discretion.
Yeah, it's our discretion if we want to respond.
Respond or not.
Okay.
You want to respond?
No, go ahead.
I think we talked about this when we were doing the amended budget, that when you create your budget for the year, the law says that you can't take into consideration what you have as carryover funds. Capital improvements, once money goes into capital improvements, it's for capital improvements. You want to build another building or that kind of thing, and there is guidance on what that money can be used for, that's all it can be used for. As an example, we can't take $100,000 out of capital improvements and put it back into fire. Once it goes there, that's where it is. And that's all it can be used for. So every year when you create your budget, you're making a budget. You're looking at what your expenses are going to be for the year based on the total properties that you have, even though we know we're only going to get 85%, because that's what they've been doing historically. And that's the way that it works. But I understand your concerns. I know. It's the way it's written. It's what the law is.
Okay, how about the carry over on fire fund?
And what?
$200,000.
I understand that. But when you make the budget, you can't you can't decrease your rate because you have a carryover in fire funds. That's not how you make a budget. It's not what the law says. I'm not saying it right.
I think you might be saying it right, but I just want to know this could be, you can add monies to that every year, and where does that money go? You just can't keep adding money onto this, onto these accounts. It's telling me that your budget's not right.
It wasn't.
Well, let me,
Go ahead.
if I may, the approved budget had 200,000 for carryover in fire funds. But the board didn't. Money was moved from fire funds to capital improvement, $100,000 in December. So that took 100,000 out of your carryover that's no longer available for budgeted expenses now. It's now capital improvements. It can only be used for capital improvements. So that was done. It was done after the budget was approved. So it looks like there's 200,000 in carryover, but there really isn't, because now 100,000 of that is in capital improvements. So we can't use it to pay the bills. We have to use it for capital improvements.
And when Carla and Georgia were up here and Commissioner Heaton discussing how the budget goes, and they said they told us that we had to have, you need to have a pool of extra money to work on. How did they put that? I mean, you don't do just bare bones. We are responsible for every one of you. And if there's a fire, we have to have the funds, and we have to have enough funds.
Well, I think Jerry brings
as far
up...
as capital improvements go, I know you're going to have to put a new roof on that. That's probably will come out of capital improvement.
Exactly.
This asphalt's got to be looked at. It needs to be treated this year. That'll probably come out of capital improvement. But, I mean, it just seems like we have an excess of monies here. I'm more concerned around the $200,000 rather than the capital improvement. I'm more concerned with the $200,000 right now.
Yeah, I think Jerry brings up a real good point, and I think that, as we're going through this and considering this, we need to carefully look at where monies are actually forecast to be used, and to be sure that we're doing this in a reasonable manner and in the public's best interest. And just because we're saying we're considering it doesn't mean there's going to be that we're going back to the 2013 fee structure. We're just looking at it, and part of the budget this year and going through the line item discussions will help us decide if we need to do that or not. It may be that we decide we don't want to do that, or maybe something in between. I don't know. But I think that's a good point, and I think we need to be very sensitive to the public's perception of, how we're using the money.
Well, another thing that kind of concerns me, and Andy's talked about it a little bit, this radio tower situation here. There was talk about moving it away from the building and putting it out in an open area. Put a decent foundation on it. We're only talking probably 6 foot of tower that's underground right now. And we don't really know the condition on it, if it's really as good as it should be. There was a discrepancy on where it was actually located, which has to be, the location isn't down. It's at I believe that right now it's licensed for 1,000 foot of altitude off in some other city, not even here on this mountain.
That's not true.
Well, it's not true. That's what it came up to. But when I was on the other board, that had come up that it wasn't right. But anyway, my suggestion is move the thing out, into a better location. Get it away so the guy wires don't get hit, and possibly bring it up even higher, because you can go 199 feet up without light. And make your communications better. I mean, you'd have to budget for the extended extensions.
Can we dig into your 200,000 to do that?
I see what Jerry's saying here, but I'm also seeing and hearing a lot of dollars right now. I do this for a living on the public safety side in Vegas. We're talking a lot of money here. I went out there with Chief a little bit ago with Commissioner Heaton. We dug around the tower looking to see if that's surface mount rust or what. We dug down a little bit. We need to dig down a little bit more to see if it's all the way through or not. It's only a 20-foot tower right now. Okay, if it's totally rusted through, yes, it needs to come down. We know that. If it's surface mount, no. We can actually add concrete, put piers in there, and actually build it up, get it above the ground. To move it out into the forest here, we got several factors here. One, the more line you use, the more money. This cable's expensive stuff. You put it out there, you're talking more money for cable. You're talking about putting the cable underground because you're not going to go aerospan with cable at all. So I kind of can see what Jerry's talking about, but I also hear and see a lot of dollars that right now this fire board, this whole district, we don't have. We're trying to figure out how to get this thing backed up, get it safe, and maybe a long 5-year plan or something. Hey, if we do decide that we want this as an emergency operations center, an emergency communication center, and we want to add more antennas to this thing, maybe, hey, we want to get a professional freestanding commercial tower out there, and we got money for it, then God bless, good luck. I'll help out every which way I can. But I think right now, wildland fire season is right around the corner. Let's just get this thing backed up, get it safe, get King County Fire Service, everybody who needs to sign off and do whatever we got to do. Let's just get our comms up and going right now, and maybe think about what Jerry's talking about in the long term. We have put towers away from buildings in the past. Big dollars. You're putting pipe in the ground. You're extending your coax cables. You lose signal. The more cable coming off that antenna that has to get to the building, you're losing signal. You're talking amplifiers now. Where's all this money going? I can look at this from a dollar bit because I do this for a living, and to change easily. You guys have money for this? Hey, I'll design the whole system. We'll put it out to bid, look at RFPs, whatever you guys want. Open up your wallets.
Yeah, but the cable cost to run it from where it's right now to probably move it out 125 feet can't be that much money.
It's $325 a foot.
Okay.
What's it hurt?
I can live with that.
You can live it? Okay. We got commitment. The Jordan will pay the footage of the cable.
Get your checkbook out. Well,
all you can pay for that 325
there you go.
Not to see the thing.
It's not $3.25.
$325.
Yeah, I know.
To move it out 100 feet.
A foot.
But I'll pay for it. I've seen the doggone thing get pulled over twice. I mean, get the guy wires away from the building.
Okay, what's something that Andy's going to work with the chief and probably, yes, a point savings.
Yeah, okay.
We can argue forever over, the guide wires. So we understand that. There's a lot of issues with that. It's been going on for a while. Anything else?
Nope.
Sorry.
Karen.
We got to get Karen. I promise she's next.
I'm speaking on behalf of the Friends of Mammoth Creek Fish Hatchery, and our purpose is to support and maintain the fish hatchery as a viable source for stocking local waters, something that is not happening right now. Our fish come from Richfield, I believe. There is a meeting with the Division of Wildlife Resources Director Greg Sheehan and his staff on May 20th. It's a Tuesday. It will be over at Central Duck Creek Church, and it will start at 10 o'clock. We are asking business owners, residents in the area to please attend, and that's why we're approaching you. We'd love to have somebody represent the board there to give input as to just thoughts and impact that stocking from a local fish hatchery would have, giving input as to why we need to be able to make some decisions at a local level and not have Salt Lake make our decisions. We're a whole different area, we have different concerns here. So that's our request, that somebody from your board would be there as a representative to ask questions,
Is there a time?
make comments. It's at 10 o'clock, start at 10 a.m. and located in the basement, the fellowship hall of the church over here.
Sure.
And there will be food, lunch.
Fish.
Before it closes.
Well, that's only if there are fish to catch.
How long has the hatchery been reopened? Just out of curiosity, right? 'Cause I missed that.
Okay.
I thought it was still going.
No, it is now a brood station. And
That's been already
the phase 1 activity, and I can give you this copy when we're done.
It's not really important, I'm just curious.
Phase 1 resulted in the hatchery not being closed. This was in 2012.
Okay.
However, the DWR officials made the decision, without seeking public input, to convert it to a brood station, send stocking responsibilities for southern Utah waters to distant hatcheries up to 300 miles away. You know, I know they were closed for that whirling disease, and I don't remember. 2002, I believe that was. So this phase 2 activity, we're just trying to move the stocking operations back to this.
I think it's great. I think it's great if you do it. That's
Yeah.
a great thing to have.
So we have, evidently, this is a new director, Greg Sheehan, and he's very responsive to the public and to our needs here in the South. So if you have any input, suggestions, if you could be there, that would be fabulous.
I marked it on the calendar. I'll volunteer for the time being.
Thank you,
So I can talk to somebody else on it.
thank you.
Cindy?
I wondered if we could pour concrete and plant those benches that we purchased out in the yard, like, 4 years ago or something? Especially if they bring some concrete in to fix the tower, could we dig a couple of, what do we have, 4 benches? They're brand new, they've never been installed.
The ones that are out here?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
It
for
would
the
be cheaper
banquet
too.
breakfast.
If we do it all at once.
Do it all at one time. We're not gonna need a lot of concrete. I'm gonna have a trucker out there look with me, and we're gonna eyeball it really good, the tower part. We're not gonna need much, but yeah, we've had those benches now for how many years? They need to be in concrete.
We could really use
Oh,
it.
That makes good sense, yeah.
So just so we don't get in trouble and we're out there digging a hole in the house.
Careful of the water line power.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we gotta determine where to put them, you know?
Yeah, there's an underground power line and the water line that run out to the well.
So who knows exactly where all that stuff is? Mostly you. So we could get with you.
You could dig the hole for the sewer pipe. Save Hoyt the trouble of doing it the same way.
I guess it was all coming together. Mike, I have one more thing
Okay.
before we wrap this up. To make sure that I understand you correctly, you're working on the emergency plan. Okay, I submitted the communications SOP to Miller back in the day, and then I also submitted the SOP comms to Chief Tuttle. He was supposed to give you a copy of that. Were you able, well, number one, did you get that, yes or no? And were you able to extract anything out of that for your emergency comm plan, or would you like me to write you up a full comm plan and just keep them separated is what I'm asking?
No, I didn't receive it, but that's probably not his fault either. I haven't been here for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yes, I've been flying around touring the USA.
Do you want to look at what I submitted to him
Yes.
as far as the SOP comms, and let me know if you need more guts to an emergency comms plan?
It's just frequencies that we're using.
Well, you can get real detail with that, but as long as this is not open to the public, because if you look at like Kane County really does not have emergency communications radio aspect combo plan. what they have out there is very vague. From a federal side, a state side, a county side, and a city side, you can actually get really detailed with frequencies and tones and where they're located. That becomes a DHS issue. It cannot be on the internet for the open public. So I'm not sure what you need here, but I would ask that you look at the SOP that I already have submitted and see if you can extract anything from that. If you're like me, Andy, it's not enough of the Cedar Mountain Fire comp plan. I need more bits and I need frequencies and I need that stuff. I could write all that up, the whole thing.
My thought was, with the board's approval, is the plan, the whole plan, will be here, locked up someplace. The copies that go out to the board members will be like the basic plan, the basic part of the plan that has, you know, they're supposed to report in the job, the checklist for each person, but that sensitive part of the plan will be here.
Okay.
The whole plan, the basic plan.
It might all tie in together, because the commissioner did ask me today offline would I help King County write their comm plan. So this all kind of seems like it could be fitting together, how we all shake hands between Alton, Orderville, we're all in the same area.
And actually, it's written in the plan right now that this plan will be incorporated into Kane County. I haven't talked with Alan at length, Aldrich, but I will. Because this was in the works before. When I was
it was in the works, but I'm not sure how far it went. And
didn't go anywhere.
Commissioner Heaton today, you know, talked to me offline. Would I help King County write theirs and really get it going? And how detailed it wants to get, I'm not sure. I know that I did Clark counties, and we had to watch a lot of our. We cannot tell you where all our communication sites are, especially if we're co-located with FBI, DEA, etc., because everything has been underneath the umbrella of DHS, and we do not want the public to know. Can you nose around, look at our FCC license for here, for the mountaintop? Yes. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. But it does not go into detail frequencies and tones and power outputs and how high the antennas are. There's no detail. So just let me know what you need from me, and I'm more happy to write it.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody else? Do we need to go back into closed session?
I would be good.
We're good?
It would be good. No,
It would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at this point, we're going to, the Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District Board of Trustees monthly meeting is going to go into recess for 13:51 hours in order to go into closed session. We're in recess. Oh, do we have to take a vote again?
Yeah.
So we need to poll the board. It's for pending litigation again.
Aye.
Well, actually, you need a motion to do it with the purpose stated.
Yes, the motion.
I would move that we go back into our executive session that we held previously for the purpose of discussion pending litigation.
Okay, motion on the table to go back and what he just said.
Second.
I'll second that.
It's been seconded. All in favor, poll the board.
Aye.
Aye. Jay?
Aye.
Aye.
Chuck? Aye.
Okay. We're in recess.
I've been meaning to call her.
Just to close.
Okay, this is April the 12th, 2014. It's 14:10 hours. This is the Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District Board of Trustees. We have reconvened in open session, and I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have one comment, Ms. Kirsten. On the 5-ton truck, if what is really needed is a bid or an irrevocable commitment to buy the thing, then
There's no better street.
okay, then that has a comment.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The motion on the table to adjourn the meeting. Second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District Board of Trustees monthly meeting for April 12th is adjourned at 14:11 hours. Done.